Imagine, if you will, that you are standing on the edge of the Ganges. But not the Ganges of the midday sun, where the water glitters like scattered gold and the air hums with the energy of life. No. Imagine the river at midnight. The hour when the world holds its breath. The moon is high, a pale, watchful eye in a sky so dark it feels heavy, pressing down against the earth. The air is thick, not just with the humidity of the Indian night, but with a mist that rises from the water like the exhalation of a sleeping giant. It clings to your skin, cool and damp, carrying the scent of wet mud, decaying lotus leaves, and something else, something metallic and old. You are in Bihar. Or perhaps, more specifically, in the ancient land of Anga, where the rivers run deep and the shadows run deeper. Here, the water is not merely a resource, it is a presence. It is alive. And in the folklore of this region, the water has a memory. It remembers every life it has taken, every prayer it has heard, and every secret whispered into its currents. And tonight, under the cover of this thick, white fog, the river is awake. There is a spirit here that the elders do not speak of lightly. They call it the Pandubbi. To the uninitiated, the name might sound like a simple ghost story, a tale told to frighten children into staying away from the riverbank after dark. But to those who know the history of this land, the Pandubbi is not just a story. It is a warning. It is the embodiment of the river's hunger. The Pandubbi is Bihar's most feared water spirit. It is said to appear not as a terrifying monster with claws and fangs, but as something far more deceptive. It appears as a man. A rural farmer, perhaps, or a traveler, dressed in simple, tattered clothes that cling to a slimy, translucent body. Its eyes are wide, pleading, and hypnotic. It does not roar. It does not scream. It asks. It asks for tobacco. It asks for a biddies. It asks for a moment of your kindness. And in that moment of politeness, in that split second where you hesitate to refuse a stranger's request, the trap is sprung. The Pandubbi does not hunt with strength, it hunts with psychology. It exploits the very nature of humanity, our desire to be helpful, our ingrained respect for guests, our reluctance to say no. But tonight, we are not here to run. We are here to understand. We are here to walk the banks of the Ganges and its tributaries, to listen to the whispers of the past. This journey will take us through the heart of Bihari folklore, a tapestry woven from history, myth, and the daily lives of the people who have lived alongside these waters for millennia. We will explore the geography of Anga, a land defined by its rivers and its rains. We will meet the tragic figure behind the legend of the Pandubbi, a farmer whose own death gave rise to this haunting presence. We will look at the other spirits that dwell in these waters, the protective deities who stand guard against the darkness, and the ancient stories that explain why the river is both a giver of life and a taker of it. Why do these stories matter? Why, in an age of science and logic, do we still tell tales of ghosts and spirits? Because folklore is not just entertainment. It is a mirror. It reflects our fears, our values, and our relationship with the natural world. The Pandubbi is a reminder to respect the power of nature. It is a cautionary tale about the dangers of the unknown. And it is a testament to the oral tradition that has kept the history of Bihar alive, passed down from grandmother to grandchild, from one generation to the next, in the quiet hours of the night. As we begin this journey, let the sounds of the river wash over you. Let the mist of the story envelop you. We are stepping into a world where the boundary between the living and the dead is thin, where the water speaks, and where every shadow has a name. The night is long, and the river is deep. Are you ready to listen? To understand the Pandubbi, we must first understand the land it calls home. We must walk the banks of the Ganges as it winds through the Anga region, where the earth is rich, the rains are heavy, and the spirits are numerous. Let us begin our journey in the heart of Bihar, in the land of Anga. The land of Anga is not merely a place on a map, it is a living, breathing entity that has shaped the souls of those who dwell within its borders for millennia. To understand the Pandubbi, you must first understand the stage upon which it performs its nightly tragedy. You must understand the weight of the air, the smell of the wet earth, and the relentless, rhythmic pulse of the water that defines this region. We are standing now in the heart of modern-day Bihar, specifically in the districts that were once the core of the ancient Anga kingdom, areas that stretch across what is today Bhagalpur, Banka, and parts of Munger and Jamui. This is a land where the boundaries between the human world and the spirit world are thin, permeable, and often dangerously close. Let us begin by looking at the geography, but let us look at it through the eyes of someone who has walked these banks for a lifetime. The Anga region is defined by its rivers. It is a land carved by water, shaped by the monsoon, and sustained by the silt of the great Ganges and its many tributaries. In the west, the Ganges flows with a majestic, rolling power, a golden serpent moving slowly toward the east. But as you move deeper into the Anga heartland, the river splits, branches, and weaves through a complex network of smaller streams, canals, and oxbow lakes. These are not just bodies of water, they are the veins of the landscape, carrying the lifeblood of the region, but also carrying its secrets. Imagine the riverbanks in the late afternoon, just before the sun dips below the horizon. The light here is different. It is softer, warmer, tinged with a golden haze that seems to hang in the humid air. The soil here is incredibly fertile, alluvial soil deposited by centuries of flooding. It is dark, rich, and smells of decay and rebirth in equal measure. When you step onto the bank, your feet sink slightly into the mud, a sticky, clinging substance that holds the memory of every footstep that has ever passed here. This mud is sacred to the farmers who work the land. It is the source of their livelihood, the rice paddies that stretch out like green carpets toward the horizon. But for the Pandubbi, this mud is a sanctuary. It is where the spirit hides, waiting, patient and still, as the day turns to night. As the sun sets, the temperature drops, but the humidity remains. The air becomes thick, heavy with the scent of wet earth, decaying leaves, and the faint, sweet smell of jasmine from the gardens near the villages. This is the time of day when the boundary between the seen and the unseen begins to blur. The shadows lengthen, stretching out across the fields, merging with the darkness of the riverine forests that line the banks. These forests are dense, tangled thickets of banyan trees, peepal trees, and bamboo groves. The roots of the banyan trees twist and coil above the ground like sleeping snakes, creating natural archways and hidden corners. The bamboo groves rustle in the wind, a dry, whispering sound that can mimic human voices if you listen closely enough. It is easy to lose your way in these forests, easy to become disoriented, and easy to feel as though you are being watched. But it is the monsoon season that truly transforms the Anga region, and it is during this time that the Pandubbi is most active. The monsoon arrives in June, bringing with it months of relentless rain. The sky turns a bruised purple, and the clouds hang low, pressing down on the landscape. The rain falls not in drops, but in sheets, a constant, roaring curtain that blurs the world into a gray mist. The rivers swell, their banks overflowing, turning the fertile fields into shallow lakes. The water rises, creeping closer to the villages, to the homes, to the very doorsteps of the people who live here. During the monsoon, the riverine forests become even more dense and impenetrable. The bamboo shoots grow rapidly, creating a wall of green that blocks out the light. The air is thick with the sound of insects, crickets, cicadas, and frogs, creating a cacophony that is both soothing and eerie. At night, this sound can mask other noises, making it difficult to hear footsteps, or the splash of water, or the quiet, pleading voice of a stranger. It is in this environment, surrounded by the overwhelming power of nature, that the people of Anga have developed a deep respect, and indeed a fear, of the water spirits. Why do water spirits dominate the folklore of this region? The answer lies in the relationship between the people and the river. For the farmers of Anga, the river is both a provider and a destroyer. It provides the water for their crops, the fish for their tables, and the transportation for their goods. But it also takes lives. Drownings are common, especially during the monsoon when the currents are strong and the visibility is poor. Children playing near the banks can slip and fall into the deep pools. Farmers working late in the fields can be caught in sudden flash floods. In a time before modern medicine and rescue services, these deaths were often unexplained. Who was to blame? Was it carelessness? Was it fate? Or was it something else? In the absence of scientific explanation, the human mind seeks meaning. And so, the river was personified. It was given a face, a voice, and a will. The Pandubbi is one such manifestation. It is not just a monster, it is a reflection of the dangers that lurk in the dark, the unpredictability of nature, and the fragility of human life. The legend of the Pandubbi serves as a cautionary tale, a way for the community to teach its younger members about the dangers of the river. It is a way of saying, be careful. Respect the water. Do not wander alone at night. But beneath the practical advice lies a deeper, more primal fear, the fear of the unknown, the fear of being pulled under by a force you cannot see, cannot fight, and cannot escape. Let us imagine a typical evening in a village in the Anga region, perhaps in the district of Banka, known for its terracotta temples and its rich cultural heritage. The sun has set, and the sky is a deep indigo, dotted with stars. The village is quiet, the sounds of daily life fading into the background. The women are inside, preparing for the night, while the men sit outside, smoking bidis and talking in low voices. The children have been told to stay indoors, to not go near the river. They know the stories. They have heard them from their grandparents, their parents, their aunts and uncles. They know that the Pandubbi is out there, waiting. As the night deepens, the mist begins to rise from the river. It is a thick, white fog that clings to the water, obscuring the view. The air becomes cooler, damp, and heavy. The sounds of the insects change, becoming softer, more mysterious. The rustling of the bamboo becomes a whisper, a sibilant hiss that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. This is the time when the Pandubbi emerges. The Pandubbi is not always visible. Sometimes, it is just a presence, a feeling of being watched, a chill that runs down your spine. Other times, it takes a form. It might appear as a figure standing on the bank, silhouetted against the moonlight. It might be a woman, beautiful and alluring, or it might be a man, dressed in the clothes of a rural farmer. But no matter what form it takes, there is something wrong with it. Something unnatural. The eyes are too bright, too pleading. The skin is too pale, too smooth. And the smell, oh, the smell is the first thing you notice. It is the smell of stagnant water, of rotting vegetation, of decay. It is the smell of the riverbed, of the deep, dark places where the light does not reach. The Pandubbi does not attack immediately. It is patient. It waits for you to approach, to engage, to listen. It uses your own humanity against you. It asks for help. It asks for tobacco. It asks for a light. It is a simple request, one that any kind-hearted person would grant. And that is the trap. The Pandubbi exploits your kindness, your politeness, your desire to be helpful. It knows that in the culture of Anga, hospitality is a virtue, and refusing a request for help is considered rude, even sinful. So, you step forward. You lean down. You reach out. And that is when the trap springs. But before we delve into the mechanics of the trap, let us pause and consider the broader context of the Anga region. This is a land of contrasts. It is a land of beauty and brutality, of fertility and decay, of life and death. The people who live here are resilient, hardworking, and deeply connected to their land. They have learned to live with the river, to respect its power, and to fear its moods. The folklore of the Pandubbi is a part of this connection. It is a way of making sense of the world, of finding meaning in the tragedies that befall them. It is a story that is passed down from generation to generation, a story that keeps the memory of the dead alive, and a story that warns the living to stay safe. As we move deeper into the night, the mist thickens. The river flows on, silent and dark, carrying the secrets of the past and the fears of the present. The Pandubbi is waiting. It is watching. And it is hungry. In the next part of our journey, we will meet the Pandubbi face to face. We will examine its appearance, its backstory, and its nature. We will explore the tragic history that gave rise to this spirit, and we will compare it to other water spirits found in the folklore of Bihar and beyond. We will learn who the Pandubbi really is, and why it is so feared. But for now, let us remain here, on the bank of the Anga River, listening to the sound of the water, feeling the mist on our skin, and waiting for the story to unfold. The river is calm, but the water is deep. The night is young, but the shadows are long. The Pandubbi is out there, and it is coming for you. But do not be afraid. Not yet. First, we must understand the land. We must understand the history. We must understand the spirit. And only then can we understand the terror that awaits. So, let us continue our journey. Let us walk further along the bank, deeper into the forest, closer to the water. Let us listen to the whispers of the bamboo, the rustle of the leaves, the splash of the waves. Let us prepare ourselves for the encounter that is to come. For the Pandubbi is not just a ghost. It is a part of the Anga region. It is a part of the river. And it is a part of us. As we stand here, in the darkness, we can feel the presence of the Pandubbi. It is close. Very close. We can smell it on the air, a faint, sweet, rotting scent. We can hear it in the water, a soft, rhythmic splashing. We can see it in the mist, a shadow moving against the current. It is waiting for us. It is calling to us. And we must answer. But before we answer, let us take a moment to breathe. To calm our minds. To prepare ourselves for what is to come. The Pandubbi is a complex spirit, with a rich history and a deep cultural significance. To understand it, we must look beyond the horror, beyond the fear, and into the heart of the story. We must see the humanity in the ghost, the tragedy in the terror, and the wisdom in the warning. And so, we begin. We step forward, into the mist, into the darkness, into the heart of the Anga region. We are ready. The Pandubbi is waiting. And the story is about to begin. Welcome back, dear listener. Settle deeper into your cushions. Let the weight of the day dissolve from your shoulders, and let your mind drift slowly, gently, toward the banks of the Son River, in the ancient land of Anga. We have walked through the geography of this place, feeling the humidity of the monsoon, hearing the rush of the tributaries, and understanding why water here is not just a resource, but a living, breathing entity. Now, we must look closer. We must peer into the shadows that dance upon the water's surface. We are here to meet the Pandubbi. To understand the Pandubbi, you must first unlearn the image of the ghost that Western horror often presents. There are no sheets, no chains, no translucent, floating sheets of white linen. The Pandubbi is not a spirit that haunts a house or a graveyard. The Pandubbi is a spirit of the earth, of the riverbank, of the mud and the mist. It is a creature that belongs to the soil as much as it belongs to the water. And its most terrifying feature is not its appearance, but its disguise. In the folklore of Bihar, the Pandubbi is known for its ability to mimic the most mundane, the most trustworthy figure in rural life, the farmer. Imagine it is late evening. The sun has dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in bruised purples and deep oranges. You are walking home along a narrow, muddy path that runs parallel to the river. The air is thick with the scent of wet earth and decaying lotus leaves. It is quiet, save for the distant croaking of frogs and the gentle lapping of water against the shore. And then, you see him. A man stands by the side of the path. He is dressed in a simple, rough-spun cotton dhoti and kurta that every laborer in the village wears. His skin is the color of the river mud, dark and weathered by the sun. He holds a small bundle of biti tobacco in one hand, and a lighter in the other. He looks tired. He looks ordinary. He looks like someone you might have seen at the local market, someone you might nod to, someone you might trust. This is the first layer of the Pandubbi's trap. It does not appear as a monster. It appears as a neighbor. It appears as a fellow human being in need of a small kindness. But if you were to look closer, if you were to squint against the fading light, you might notice something unsettling. The texture of the Pandubbi's skin is wrong. It is not dry and dusty like the skin of a true farmer. It is slick. It glistens with a thin, viscous layer of slime, like the coating found on a stone that has been submerged in the river for centuries. It is the texture of wet clay, of algae, of something that has been held underwater for too long. And then, there are the eyes. This is the detail that the elders whisper about in hushed tones, the detail that keeps children away from the riverbank after dusk. The Pandubbi's eyes are wide, unblinking, and filled with a hypnotic, pleading sorrow. They are not evil eyes. They are not angry. They are the eyes of someone who is deeply, profoundly sad. They are the eyes of a man who has lost everything and is begging for a moment of connection. When the Pandubbi looks at you, it does not stare with malice, it stares with a desperate need for validation. It wants you to see it as human. It wants you to acknowledge its existence. This mimicry is not random. It is rooted in a tragedy that is as old as the river itself. Legend says that the Pandubbi was once a man, a poor, lonely farmer who lived on the banks of the Sone. He was a man of few words, respected for his hard work but often overlooked by the community. He lived in a small hut near the water, and his only companion was the river. He spent his days tending to his fields and his evenings watching the water flow. But the river is fickle. One monsoon season, the waters rose higher than they ever had before. The banks eroded. The hut collapsed. And the farmer, trying to save his livestock, was swept away. He did not die quickly. He struggled in the churning mud, his cries drowned out by the roar of the flood. When he was found days later, his body was bloated, his skin pale and peeling, his eyes wide with the terror of the deep. The villagers buried him, but they did not mourn him deeply. They moved on. They forgot him. But the spirit of the farmer did not. It remained tethered to the place where he died, to the water that took him, to the loneliness that defined his life. Over time, the grief turned to bitterness. The loneliness turned to a hunger for company. And the farmer's spirit twisted, merging with the spirits of the river, becoming something else. Something older. Something colder. This is the core of the Pandubbi's nature. It is a spirit of isolation. It seeks to pull others into its world because it cannot bear to be alone. And it does this by offering what it knows best, the comfort of human interaction, however fleeting. You might wonder, how is this different from other water spirits? In Indian folklore, there are many entities associated with water. There is the Jalpishak, the water demon. There is the jinn, who may dwell in wells. There are the apsaras, celestial nymphs who lure men with beauty. But the Pandubbi is distinct. The Jalpishak is often depicted as a monstrous, skeletal figure, a creature of pure predation. It does not disguise itself, it attacks. It is the embodiment of the wild, untamed danger of the water. The Pandubbi, however, is more insidious. It is the embodiment of the deceptive danger of the water. It is not a monster that jumps out of the shadows, it is a friend that asks you to stay a little longer. It exploits the cultural values of Bihar, where hospitality and politeness are paramount. In this culture, to refuse a request for a light, to ignore a neighbor's plea, is considered rude, even cruel. The Pandubbi knows this. It uses your own goodness against you. Think about the psychology of the trap. You are walking home, tired, perhaps a bit cold. You see a man standing in the dark. He asks for a light for his biddy. It is a small thing. It takes only a second. To refuse would be to be unkind. To refuse would be to break the social contract of the village. So, you stop. You strike a match. You lean in. And in that moment of connection, in that brief exchange of fire and smoke, the Pandubbi has you. It has your attention. It has your trust. It has anchored you to the spot. The slimy texture of its hand, when it reaches out to take the biddy, is cold and damp. The smell of it is not tobacco, but of stagnant water, of rotting vegetation, of the deep, dark silt at the bottom of the river. The comparison to the Jalpishak is important because it highlights the evolution of fear. In the past, when the river was a greater threat to survival, the fear was of the physical attack, the Jalpishak. But as communities settled, as villages grew, the fear shifted. The fear became of the subtle, the unseen, the deceptive. The Pandubbi represents the fear of the unknown in the familiar. It is the fear that the person standing next to you is not who they seem. It is the fear that kindness can be a weapon. As you listen to this, imagine the mist rising from the river. Imagine the man standing there, his eyes wide and pleading, his hand extended. Do not look away. Observe the details. The way the light catches the slime on his skin. The way his breath fogs in the cool night air. The way his eyes seem to hold a depth that is too deep for a human soul. This is the Pandubbi. It is not just a ghost story. It is a warning. It is a reminder that in the land of Anga, the water is always watching. And sometimes, it watches back with human eyes. We have described its appearance, its texture, its eyes. We have told the story of the farmer who became the spirit. We have compared it to its monstrous cousin, the Jalpishak. We have explored the psychology of the lure. But we have not yet spoken of what happens when the trap is sprung. We have not yet spoken of the moment the victim realizes that the man with the biddy is not a man at all. That, my dear listener, is a journey we must take together. For now, let the image of the farmer fade into the mist. Let the sound of the river soothe you. But keep your awareness sharp, even in your relaxation. For the Pandubbi is always near. And it is always waiting. Rest now. Let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts drift back to the riverbank, to the mist, to the man with the sad eyes. We will return to him soon. But for now, let go. Let go of the need to understand. Let go of the need to control. Just listen. Just breathe. The night is long. The river is deep. And the Pandubbi is watching. Section 3, Who is the Pandubbi? We have walked the banks of the Anga region. We have felt the heavy, humid air of the monsoon, smelled the wet earth and the blooming night jasmine, and heard the distant, rhythmic splash of the river against the mud. We know the land that births these spirits. But now, we must turn our gaze from the landscape to the entity itself. We must look into the eyes of the Pandubbi. To understand the Pandubbi, you must first unlearn the images of horror that Western cinema or modern ghost stories often impose upon us. The Pandubbi is not a skeleton in a tattered shroud. It is not a translucent, floating sheet with glowing eyes. It is terrifying precisely because it is so mundane, so painfully ordinary. It is a reflection of the people who live along these rivers, distorted by tragedy and death. Imagine, if you will, a man standing on the riverbank at midnight. He is not tall, nor is he particularly imposing. He is of average build, perhaps slightly thin, with the sun-weathered skin of a man who has spent his life working under the harsh Bihar sun. He wears a simple, dirty dhoti, wrapped loosely around his waist, and a faded, sweat-stained kurta that clings to his frame. His hair is matted, tangled with river weeds and silt, hanging over his forehead in dark, stringy clumps. He smells not of decay, but of stagnant water, of rotting vegetation, of the deep, muddy bottom of the river where the sunlight never reaches. This is the first layer of the Pandubbi's appearance, the rural farmer. He looks like a laborer who has walked miles from a distant village, seeking shelter, or perhaps seeking help. His face is pale, almost gray, the color of wet clay. But it is the texture of his skin that marks him as something other than human. If you were to look closely, past the initial illusion of humanity, you would see that his skin is slick, covered in a thin, invisible layer of slime. It glistens in the moonlight, reflecting the stars in a way that human skin never does. It is the texture of a fish, of an amphibian, of something that belongs entirely to the water and has only recently emerged to mimic the land. And then, there are the eyes. This is the most hypnotic, most dangerous aspect of the Pandubbi. They are large, dark, and pleading. They are filled with a profound, crushing sadness. When the Pandubbi looks at you, it does not look with hunger, or with malice, or with rage. It looks with a desperate, childlike need for connection. The eyes seem to bore into your soul, bypassing your defenses, bypassing your fear, and speaking directly to your empathy. They say, I am lost. I am cold. I am alone. Please help me, This is the trap. The Pandubbi does not attack, it asks. It exploits the very best qualities of the human heart, our kindness, our politeness, our desire to be helpful. In the culture of Bihar, to ignore a person in distress is a grave sin. To turn away from someone asking for aid is to invite shame upon oneself. The Pandubbi knows this. It wears the face of a fellow human being, a fellow sufferer, and it uses that face to disarm you. But where did this spirit come from? Who was he before he became the Pandubbi? The folklore offers a tragic backstory, a tale of sorrow that mirrors the sorrow of the river itself. Legend says that the Pandubbi was once a man, a poor farmer living on the banks of the Ganges or one of its tributaries. He was a good man, hard-working, but unlucky. The rains did not come when they should have, the floods came when they should not have. His crops failed. His family grew weak. One night, in a fit of despair, or perhaps in a moment of accidental slipperiness on the muddy bank, he fell into the river. But he did not drown immediately. The river, in its cruel indifference, held him. He struggled, he screamed, he begged for help. But the banks were empty. The night was silent. He sank into the cold, dark water, his lungs burning, his hope fading. As he drowned, his last thought was not of anger, but of loneliness. He was alone in the dark. He wanted someone to hear him. He wanted someone to see him. When his body was eventually recovered, days later, bloated and broken, the village mourned him. But his spirit did not move on. The trauma of his drowning, the coldness of the water, the isolation of his death, bound him to the river. He became the water. He became the mud. He became the Pandubbi. This distinction is important. The Pandubbi is not a demon sent to punish. It is a victim, trapped in an eternal loop of its own death. It is a soul that cannot find peace, and so it seeks to pull others down into its darkness, hoping that if someone else joins it, the loneliness will be shared, and perhaps, the cold will be less biting. To understand the Pandubbi better, it is helpful to compare it to other water spirits found in Indian folklore, such as the Jalpishak or the Makshindra. The Jalpishak, or water demon, is often depicted as a more overtly monstrous entity. It may have claws, fangs, and a grotesque, twisted form. It is a predator, a hunter that actively seeks flesh. The Jalpishak is fear incarnate, a manifestation of the danger that lurks in the dark waters. The Pandubbi, however, is different. It is more subtle. It is less a monster and more a ghost. It lacks the overt aggression of the Jalpishak. Instead of claws, it has hands that are soft and slimy. Instead of fangs, it has a mouth that speaks in a whisper. It is a spirit of seduction, not of violence. It lures you in with pity, whereas the Jalpishak attacks you with force. In some versions of the legend, the Pandubbi is also associated with the Brahmarakshasa, a type of spirit that retains some of its human intellect and knowledge but is corrupted by death. However, the Pandubbi is more primal. It is tied specifically to the element of water, to the riverine forests of Anga, and to the specific geography of Bihar. It is a local spirit, a guardian of the banks, a warning to those who would disrespect the river. There is also a comparison to the Makshindra, the fish god, who is worshipped for rain and harvest. While Makshindra is benevolent, bringing life to the land, the Pandubbi is the inverse. It is the death that comes from the water. It is the flood that destroys the home. It is the drowning that takes the life. The Pandubbi is the shadow side of the river's bounty. The river gives life through irrigation and drinking, but it also takes life through drowning and erosion. The Pandubbi embodies that taking. As you listen to these descriptions, let them settle into your mind. Picture the man on the bank. See the dirty dhoti. Feel the slickness of his skin. Look into his pleading eyes. Feel the weight of his sorrow. This is not a story of a monster under the bed. This is a story of a man who drowned, and who is still waiting to be saved. The Pandubbi is a reminder of the fragility of life. It is a reminder that the river is not just a resource, but a living, breathing entity that can be both giver and taker. It is a reminder that in the deep, dark waters of the night, there are things that watch us, that wait for us, that want us to join them in their cold, silent world. But why does this spirit persist? Why does the legend of the Pandubbi remain so vivid in the collective consciousness of Bihar? It is because it serves a purpose. It is a cautionary tale. It is a way for the community to explain the unexplainable, to make sense of the tragedies that occur in the natural world. When a child disappears near the river, when a body is found floating downstream, when a fisherman vanishes without a trace, the Pandubbi provides an answer. It provides a face to the fear. And so, we stand on the bank with him. We look into his eyes. We feel the pull of his sadness. But we must remain aware. We must remember that behind the pleading eyes, there is a trap. Behind the slimy hand, there is a strength that is not human. Behind the tragic backstory, there is a hunger that is not for food, but for company. The Pandubbi is waiting. The river is flowing. The night is deep. And the story is not over. Let your mind rest for a moment on the image of the farmer. Let the details fade, leaving only the feeling of the mist, the sound of the water, and the presence of the spirit. We will explore the mechanics of his lore next. We will see how he asks for help, and how that help becomes his weapon. For now, just breathe. Just listen. The Pandubbi is watching. And the river is listening. The riverbank at night is not silent. If you stand there long enough, if you let your eyes adjust to the darkness and your ears tune out the distant hum of the village, you will hear the river breathing. It is a low, rhythmic exhalation, the sound of water sliding over stones, of mud settling, of secrets moving beneath the surface. But sometimes, beneath that natural rhythm, there is another sound. A faint, dry rustling. The friction of dry leaves against dry skin. Or perhaps, the soft, deliberate strike of a match. This is where the Pandubbi begins his dance. Not with a roar, not with a shriek, but with a request. To understand the trap, you must first understand the culture of the Anga region, the land of Bihar's eastern plains. Here, hospitality is not just a courtesy, it is a sacred duty. To turn away a traveler, to refuse a neighbor, to ignore a plea for help is to invite shame upon your household. It is to break the social fabric that holds the community together. The Pandubbi knows this. He has studied the hearts of men and women for centuries. He knows that in the dim light of a moonless night, when fatigue sets in and the mind is weary, the barrier between caution and kindness becomes thin. The Pandubbi does not appear as a monster in the initial encounter. He does not reveal his slimy texture, his hollow eyes, or his unnatural stillness. Instead, he appears as a man. Often, he appears as a farmer, dressed in simple, worn cotton clothes, the color of dried earth. He might be sitting on a rock by the water's edge, or standing near the path that leads to the village. He looks tired. He looks lonely. He looks like someone who has walked a long way and has no place to go. And then, he speaks. His voice is soft, barely rising above the sound of the river. It is a voice that carries a hint of a cough, a rasp that suggests age or illness. He does not demand. He does not threaten. He asks. "Excuse me," he might say, his eyes fixed on yours with an intensity that feels like warmth. "I have walked far from my home. My throat is dry, and my hands shake. Do you have any tobacco? A single biddy? I only wish to smoke, to calm my nerves, and perhaps rest for a moment before continuing my journey. This is the hook. It is a small, innocent request. Tobacco is a common commodity in rural Bihar. A bidi is cheap, easily shared. To refuse such a request is to appear cruel. To refuse is to appear unkind. And so, the victim, driven by the deep-seated impulse to be good, to be helpful, to be polite, reaches into their pocket or their bundle. They pull out a packet of tobacco. They light a bidi. They hand it over. In that moment, the connection is made. The Pandubbi takes the tobacco with a hand that feels cold, even through the fabric of his sleeve. He might offer a nod of gratitude, a slight bow of the head. But as he takes the offering, his fingers linger. They brush against the victim's skin, and for a split second, there is a sensation that is wrong. It is not painful, but it is unsettling. It feels like touching wet clay. It feels like touching something that is alive, but not quite human. It feels like slime. But the mind is quick to rationalize. It is just the dampness of the night, the victim thinks. It is just the mud from the riverbank. The mind rejects the sensory data that does not fit the narrative of kindness. We want to believe the story we are telling ourselves, that we are helping a stranger in need. We want to believe that the world is a place where good deeds are rewarded with gratitude, not danger. So, the victim stands there, watching the Pandubbi smoke. The smoke curls up into the mist, blending with the fog that rises from the river. The Pandubbi inhales deeply, slowly, his eyes never leaving the victim's face. And in those eyes, there is a depth that is terrifying. They are not human eyes. They are dark, hollow pits that seem to pull at the soul. They are eyes that have seen the bottom of the river and have never wanted to leave. This is the psychology of the trap. It is not a trap of force, but of engagement. The Pandubbi does not attack immediately. He lingers. He asks for more. Do you have water? He might ask. Do you have a place to sleep? Each question is a thread, weaving a web around the victim. Each request binds them closer, not just physically, but emotionally. The victim feels a strange sense of responsibility. If I leave now, who will help him? If I leave him here, he might drown. The fear of being the cause of someone else's misfortune becomes stronger than the fear of the unknown. And then, the shift happens. It is subtle. The Pandubbi's posture changes. He stands up, but he does not move like a man. He moves like a shadow detaching itself from a wall. His limbs seem too long, too jointed. The smoke stops rising. The air grows cold, not with the chill of the night, but with a damp, heavy cold that seeps into the bones. The Pandubbi smiles, but it is not a smile of gratitude. It is a smile of recognition. He has tasted the kindness of the victim, and now, he wants more. Come, he says. His voice is no longer soft. It is a command, low and resonant, vibrating in the chest. Come with me. I will show you the way. I will show you the treasure. Or perhaps, he says nothing. He simply turns and walks toward the water. And the victim, compelled by a force they cannot name, follows. This is the moment of realization. It comes too late. The victim looks down at their feet and sees that they are not walking on mud, but on something slimy. They look up at the Pandubbi and see that his skin is no longer that of a farmer, but of a creature covered in the algae and slime of the riverbed. They see the water lapping at his ankles, and they realize that he is not walking on the water, but into it. And he is pulling them with him. The struggle begins, but it is not a struggle of strength. It is a struggle of will. The Pandubbi's grip is iron. It is the grip of the river itself, strong and unyielding. The victim tries to pull back, to scream, to run, but their feet are stuck in the mud, or perhaps, they are already underwater. The air is gone. The light is gone. There is only the cold, the dark, and the pull. Real accounts from the region speak of near misses. Stories of men who felt the cold hand, who smelled the rot, who saw the eyes, and who managed to break free. They describe a sensation of being dragged, not by a person, but by the current itself. They describe a voice whispering in their ear, promising them peace, promising them rest. And they describe the terror of knowing that if they had stayed, if they had answered the call, they would have joined the Pandubbi in the deep. These stories are not just warnings. They are tests. They test our kindness, our curiosity, our fear. They ask us, will you help the stranger, even when the cost is high? Will you trust your instincts, even when they contradict your politeness? Will you listen to the river, even when it sings a siren song? As we continue this journey, we must hold these questions in our minds. We must feel the weight of the tobacco in our pockets. We must hear the rustle of the dry leaves. We must see the dark, hollow eyes of the Pandubbi. And we must remember that in the land of Anga, the river is not just water. It is a witness. It is a judge. And it is hungry. The mist thickens. The sound of the river grows louder. The Pandubbi is waiting. And you are standing on the bank. What will you do? The silence stretches. The water laps at the shore. The night holds its breath. The night is deep, and the air is thick with the scent of wet earth and decaying leaves. You are standing on the bank of the Ganges, or perhaps one of its many tributaries that wind through the Anga region like silver veins through a dark landscape. The moon is hidden behind a veil of clouds, and the only light comes from the faint, ghostly reflection on the water's surface. It is here, in this liminal space between the known world and the unknown, that the Pandubbi makes its move. It does not begin with a roar, or a shriek, or a terrifying apparition. If it did, you would run. You would turn on your heel and flee into the safety of the village, your heart pounding against your ribs. But the Pandubbi is not a brute, it is a trickster. It is a psychologist of the supernatural, a master of the subtle nudge. It knows that humans are creatures of habit, of politeness, of social obligation. And it exploits these virtues with terrifying precision. Imagine, if you will, that you are walking home late at night. The path is narrow, flanked by tall, dense riverine forests. The trees whisper to each other in the wind, their branches intertwining like skeletal fingers. You are tired. Your feet ache from the day's labor. You just want to get home, to the warmth of your hut, to the quiet comfort of sleep. And then, you see him. He is standing by the edge of the water, partially obscured by the mist. He looks like a farmer, a simple, humble man from the village. He is dressed in the traditional dhoti and kurta, perhaps a bit dirty from the day's work in the fields. His face is obscured by the shadows, but you can see the silhouette of a man waiting. He is not menacing. He is not threatening. He is simply waiting. As you approach, he turns to you. His movements are slow, deliberate, almost hypnotic. He does not speak immediately. He simply looks at you with eyes that seem to hold the depth of the river itself. They are pleading eyes. They are sad eyes. They are the eyes of someone who is in need. And then, he speaks. His voice is soft, raspy, like dry leaves skittering across stone. Biya, he says. Brother. Can you spare a biddies? I have been walking for miles. My throat is dry. I could use a smoke to calm my nerves. Here is the trap. Here is the mechanism of the lure. In the culture of Bihar, hospitality is not just a virtue, it is a duty. To refuse a request for tobacco, for water, for help, is to violate the sacred code of social interaction. It is to be rude. It is to be cold. It is to be unworthy of the community. The Pandubbi knows this. It knows that you cannot say no. It knows that your politeness, your kindness, your desire to be a good neighbor, will override your instinct for self-preservation. So, you stop. You hesitate. You look around, checking to see if anyone else is watching, but the mist has swallowed the world. There is only you, and him, and the river. You reach into your pocket. You have a pack of biddies, the small, hand-rolled cigarettes that are so common in rural Bihar. You take one out. You hold it out to him. This is the moment of connection. This is the moment the trap snaps shut. As you extend your hand, the Pandubbi steps forward. He does not take the bidis immediately. Instead, he reaches out and touches your hand. His skin is slimy, cold, and wet. It feels like touching a fish that has been lying in the sun too long. It feels like touching the riverbed itself. You feel a shiver run down your spine. It is a primal sensation, a warning from your ancestors, from your DNA, from the deep, ancient part of your brain that remembers the dangers of the wild. But you ignore it. You are polite. You are kind. You are human. He takes the bidis. He puts it in his mouth. He lights it with a match that he produces from nowhere. The flame flickers, casting a strange, orange glow on his face. For a second, you see it clearly. You see the texture of his skin. It is not skin at all. It is a layer of slime, of algae, of decay. It is the texture of something that has been underwater for a very long time. And then, he looks at you. And he smiles. It is not a friendly smile. It is a smile of triumph. It is the smile of a predator who has just caught its prey. You are a good man, he says. You are very kind. And then, he pulls. It happens so quickly that you do not have time to react. One moment, you are standing on the bank. The next, you are being dragged forward. The Pandubbi's strength is supernatural. It is the strength of the river, of the current, of the weight of the water. You try to pull back, but your feet are stuck in the mud. The mud is thick, sticky, and heavy. It holds you fast. You look down at your feet. The mud is not just mud. It is alive. It is writhing. It is trying to pull you down. You look back at the Pandubbi. He is no longer a farmer. He is a monster. His body is elongated, twisted, unnatural. His eyes are wide, black, and empty. His mouth is full of sharp, jagged teeth. He is laughing. He is laughing at your kindness. He is laughing at your politeness. He is laughing at your death. You struggle. You scream. But the sound is swallowed by the river. The water is rising. It is cold, and it is dark, and it is hungry. This is the psychology of the trap. It is not just about physical strength. It is about emotional manipulation. The Pandubbi exploits the fact that we are wired to be helpful. We are wired to be polite. We are wired to trust the stranger who asks for help. And in doing so, we open ourselves up to the most dangerous forces in the world. There are stories, passed down from grandmother to grandchild, of near misses. Stories of men who felt a sudden chill, a sudden sense of dread, and who pulled their hand back just in time. Stories of women who saw the slime on the man's skin and who turned and ran, leaving the biddies behind. Stories of children who were warned by their elders to never, ever give anything to a stranger on the riverbank at night. But for those who do not listen, for those who are too kind, for those who are too polite, the trap is set. And the river takes what is its due. The mist thickens. The sound of the river grows louder. The Pandubbi is waiting. And you are standing on the bank. What will you do? The silence stretches. The water laps at the shore. The night holds its breath. The silence stretches. The water laps at the shore. The night holds its breath. And then, the hand touches your ankle. It is not a violent grab, not at first. It is a touch so gentle, so tentative, that for a fleeting second, your mind refuses to accept it as a threat. It feels like the brush of a reed, or perhaps the cool slip of a stone shifting in the current. You are standing on the muddy bank, the damp earth clinging to your feet, the mist swirling around your waist like a living thing. The figure before you, the one who asked for tobacco, the one with the hollow eyes and the pleading voice, has not moved. They have simply extended a hand, their fingers brushing against your skin. But the temperature of that touch is wrong. It is not the warmth of human skin. It is cold. Deep, penetrating, bone-chilling cold. It feels like ice water poured directly onto your nerves. And it spreads. It travels up your leg, a wave of numbness that steals the feeling from your muscles, leaving you heavy, sluggish, as if your limbs have been filled with wet sand. This is the beginning of the pull. In the folklore of the Anga region, the Pandubbi is rarely described as a monster that leaps from the shadows. It is a predator of patience. It waits for the moment of hesitation, the moment when your politeness overrides your instinct. And once that connection is made, once that cold hand has found purchase on your body, the trap snaps shut with a finality that defies physics. You try to step back. It is a natural reflex, the body's way of preserving itself. You shift your weight to your other foot, intending to retreat into the safety of the dense riverine forest. But your foot does not lift. It is stuck. Not in mud, though the riverbank is soft and treacherous. It is stuck in the air. The air itself seems to have turned to resin, thick and unyielding. You strain against it, your muscles tensing, your heart beginning to hammer against your ribs like a trapped bird. But the Pandubbi does not strain. It does not need to. The grip on your ankle tightens. It is not a squeeze of flesh and bone, it is a grip of absolute, supernatural authority. You feel the pressure not just on your skin, but deep within your joints, as if the spirit is holding your very skeleton in place. And then, the movement begins. It is slow. Deliberate. Terrifyingly slow. The Pandubbi pulls. It does not jerk you forward, it draws you in, like a fisherman reeling in a catch. You feel your body tilting, losing its balance, the solid ground beneath you slipping away. You stumble, your hands flying out to catch yourself, but there is nothing to catch. Your fingers scrape against the wet mud, finding no purchase, no anchor. You are sliding. Sliding toward the water. The river is black. In the moonlight, it looks like a sheet of obsidian, smooth and featureless. But you know what lies beneath. You know the stories. You know that the water is not just water, it is a mouth, waiting to feed. As you slide closer to the edge, the smell hits you. It is not the fresh, clean scent of rain on dry earth, nor the earthy aroma of the monsoon-soaked soil. It is the smell of stagnation. It is the scent of old leaves, of decaying vegetation, of things that have been underwater for a very long time. It is the smell of death, preserved in the cold dark. It fills your nose, your lungs, your mind, and it brings with it a wave of dizziness. Your vision blurs. The mist seems to swirl faster, forming shapes that dance at the edge of your perception, faces, hands, reaching out from the fog. You try to scream. You open your mouth to call for help, to shout for your neighbors, for anyone who might be nearby. But no sound comes out. Your throat is closed. It is as if the cold has traveled up your body, freezing your vocal cords, silencing your voice. You are mute. You are alone. And the only witness to your struggle is the silent, watching river. The Pandubbi pulls again. This time, the force is stronger. You are halfway to the water's edge. Your toes are hanging over the brink, dangling into the mist. The cold from the water begins to rise up to meet you, a chill that seeps into your skin, making you shiver uncontrollably. You can see the ripples on the surface, distorted by the current. You can hear the soft, rhythmic lapping of the waves against the bank. Asterisk slap. Slap. Slap, asterisk. It is a hypnotic sound, soothing in its regularity, masking the horror of what is about to happen. You dig your heels into the mud. You claw at the ground, your fingernails breaking, your skin tearing. You are desperate. You are fighting with every ounce of strength you have. But it is like trying to hold back a tide with your bare hands. The Pandubbi is not a man. It is a force of nature, a spirit bound to the river, and its strength is infinite. It does not tire. It does not falter. It simply pulls, with a steady, inexorable power that mocks your human fragility. And then, the first splash. Your foot breaks the surface of the water. The cold is instantaneous and shocking. It is a physical blow, a shock to the system that makes your breath catch in your throat. The water is heavier than air, denser, more resistant. It clings to your leg, wrapping around it like a second skin. You try to kick, to pull your leg back, but the Pandubbi's grip is too strong. It holds your ankle firmly, anchoring you to the bank even as you are dragged into the river. You are pulled further in. Your other foot joins the first. The water is now up to your knees. The mud beneath you is gone, replaced by the slippery, shifting silt of the riverbed. You are no longer standing on ground. You are standing in the river, and the river is taking you. The Pandubbi is still there, standing on the bank. But it is no longer looking at you. It is watching the water. Its eyes are wide, unblinking, filled with a strange, hungry anticipation. It knows what comes next. It knows that the water is its domain, and you are its prey. You try to stand up. You try to straighten your back, to rise above the water. But the weight of the water, combined with the pull of the spirit, keeps you down. You are sinking. Slowly, inevitably, you are sinking. The water rises to your waist. It is cold enough to burn. It chills your core, stealing your warmth, stealing your energy. You feel weak. Your arms feel heavy. Your legs feel like lead. You are losing control of your body. And then, the realization hits you. It is a cold, hard truth that settles in your stomach like a stone. You are not going to escape. Not this time. The Pandubbi has chosen you. The river has claimed you. And there is nothing you can do to change it. This is the moment of true terror. It is not the fear of pain, or the fear of death. It is the fear of helplessness. It is the realization that you are small, and the river is vast. You are one person, and the Pandubbi is a legend, a story, a force that has existed for centuries. You are fighting a ghost, and ghosts do not bleed. Ghosts do not feel pain. Ghosts do not stop. The water rises to your chest. You can feel the pressure against your ribs, making it harder to breathe. You gasp, trying to draw in air, but the air is thin, cold, and filled with the smell of decay. You cough, and water splashes into your mouth. It tastes bitter, metallic, like old blood. You spit it out, but more comes in. You are drowning, even though you are not fully submerged. The water is filling you, filling your lungs, filling your mind. The Pandubbi pulls one last time. And you go under. The transition is sudden. One moment, you are standing in the water, looking up at the misty sky. The next, you are beneath the surface. The world above disappears. The light fades. The sound of the river is muffled, distorted, as if you are hearing it through a thick wall of glass. You are in the dark. The cold is absolute. It wraps around you, squeezing you, pressing you down. You try to swim. You kick your legs, you flap your arms, you try to break the surface. But the water is thick, resistant. It pushes back against you, holding you down. You are not swimming, you are struggling against the current that is stronger than you. And then, you feel it. The hand on your ankle. It is still there. The Pandubbi has not let go. It has pulled you down with it, into the depths. You are no longer fighting the river. You are fighting the spirit. You look down. Beneath you, the riverbed is dark, indistinct. But you can see shapes. Silhouettes. Other hands. Other feet. Reaching up. Reaching for you. They are trapped, just as you are. They are the victims of the Pandubbi, the ones who came before you. They are waiting. And they are hungry. You scream, but no sound comes out. The water fills your mouth, your nose, your ears. You are drowning. You are dying. And the Pandubbi is watching, from above, from the bank, from the mist. It is smiling. The struggle continues. You fight with every fiber of your being. You try to hold your breath. You try to keep your eyes open. You try to find a way out. But the river is endless. The darkness is total. And the Pandubbi is patient. It will wait as long as it needs to. It will pull you down until you are nothing but a memory, until you are part of the river, until you are one with the dead. The water rises in your lungs. You feel the burning, the panic, the despair. You are alone. You are lost. You are gone. And then, the strength leaves you. Your muscles relax. Your hands fall to your sides. You stop fighting. You stop struggling. You let go. The Pandubbi releases its grip. You sink. You sink into the dark, into the cold, into the silence. You sink to the bottom of the river, where the sand waits. Where the mud waits. Where the fate of the Pandubbi's victims is sealed. The river flows on. The mist clears. The night goes on. And the Pandubbi waits for the next visitor. The next victim. The next soul to lure into the dark. But you are not there anymore. You are below. You are deep. You are gone. And the river takes what is its due. The silence stretches. The water laps at the shore. The night holds its breath. What lies beneath the surface? What waits in the dark? What happens when the struggle ends? The answer lies in the deep. In the riverbed. In the sand. Let us descend. Let us go down. Into the dark. Into the silence. Into the fate of the Pandubbi's victims. The water is cold. The dark is total. And the sand is waiting. The water here is not like the water on the surface. Up there, in the world of light and air, the river is a living thing. It flows, it crashes, it sings. But down here, in the depths, the river is a tomb. It is a place of absolute stillness, a heavy, suffocating blanket that presses against you from every direction. The cold is not just a temperature, it is a presence. It seeps into your bones, slowing your heart, numbing your fingers, making your thoughts sluggish and distant. You are no longer fighting the current. The current has won. The struggle that tore at your muscles, the panic that screamed in your throat, it has all been drained away, replaced by a profound, terrifying exhaustion. You are sinking. Not because you are trying to sink, but because the weight of the Pandubbi's grip has pulled you past the point of return. The surface is a memory now, a shimmering, distorted light far above you, a ceiling of glass that you can see but never touch. The light fades. The blue deepens to indigo, and then to black. Total darkness. It is not the darkness of a closed eyelid, which still holds the faint afterimage of the day. This is an ancient darkness. It is the darkness of the earth before the sun was born. It is thick, opaque, and absolute. In this void, you cannot see your own hand in front of your face. You cannot see the riverbed below. You can only feel. And what you feel is the sand. This is the secret of the Pandubbi, the gruesome detail that turns a drowning into a permanent disappearance. In many stories of water spirits, the ghost simply holds you down until you drown. But the Pandubbi is more cruel, more precise. It does not just want your life, it wants your body to remain part of the river forever. It wants to erase you. As you descend, the silt of the Ganges tributaries begins to swirl around you. It is not just mud. It is fine, powdery, and incredibly dense. It is the dust of mountains that have crumbled over millennia, carried by the rain, deposited in the slow-moving eddies of the riverbank. When the Pandubbi drags you down, it does not just pull you, it pushes you into this soft, settling grave. At first, the sand is just a cloud, a murky haze that obscures your vision further. But then, it begins to settle. It lands on your clothes, on your skin, on your hair. It is heavy. It clings. It feels like wet wool, like cold clay. And then, the horror begins. The sand does not just sit on you. It enters you. In the folklore of the Anga region, it is said that the Pandubbi has a power over the elements, a command over the earth itself. As you lie on the riverbed, paralyzed by the supernatural strength that holds you, the sand begins to infiltrate your body. It finds its way into your nostrils, your mouth, your ears. It is not a choking sensation, not at first. It is a filling. A cold, gritty filling. Imagine the sensation of lying in bed, but instead of sheets, you are being covered by inches of wet sand. It presses against your chest, making it hard to breathe, though you have already stopped trying. It fills your lungs, not with air, but with earth. The sand is fine enough to pass through the delicate tissues of your body, settling in the spaces between your cells. It is a slow, silent invasion. You feel it in your stomach, a heavy, cold mass that displaces your insides. You feel it in your limbs, weighing them down, making them feel like stone. This is why the bodies of Pandubbi's victims are never found. This is why the riverbanks remain empty of corpses. The sand is the lock that keeps the secret. As the sand fills your body, it increases your density. It makes you heavier than the water. It anchors you to the bottom. Even if the Pandubbi were to let go, even if the spirit released its grip, you would not float up. You are too heavy. You are too full of earth. You are part of the riverbed now. The silence down here is deafening. On the surface, you can hear the wind, the birds, the distant hum of the world. But down here, the water dampens all sound. The only noise is the blood rushing in your ears, a slow, rhythmic thudding that grows fainter with each passing second. It is a lonely sound. It is the sound of isolation. You are alone with the darkness and the sand. There is no one to hear you. No one to save you. The village is miles away, or perhaps just across the river, but it might as well be on another planet. The water acts as a wall, a barrier that separates you from the living. In the folklore, it is said that the victims can still hear the world above, but it is muffled, like listening to a conversation through a thick wall. You might hear the splash of a boat, the laughter of children playing near the bank, the call of a priest. These sounds are cruel taunts. They remind you of what you have lost. They remind you of the warmth of the sun, the taste of fresh water, the embrace of a loved one. But you cannot reach them. You are trapped in the cold, silent dark. The sand continues to settle. It covers your eyes. It fills your mouth. It becomes a part of you. You try to scream, but there is no air to carry the sound. You try to move, but your limbs are heavy, encased in the cold, gritty embrace of the riverbed. You are becoming a statue. A statue of flesh and bone, buried in the silt of the Ganges. This is the fate of those who are lured by the Pandubbi. It is not just death. It is erasure. It is a return to the earth, but not in the way that is natural. In the natural order, the body decomposes, the nutrients return to the soil, the cycle continues. But here, there is no decomposition. There is only preservation. The cold, the pressure, and the sand preserve you in a state of suspended animation. You are frozen in time, in the moment of your capture. The darkness is not empty. In the silence, your mind begins to wander. It goes back. It goes to the moments before the lure. The kindness you showed. The tobacco you offered. The smile that was not a smile. The regret is a sharp pain, sharper than the cold. You realize that your politeness, your humanity, was your undoing. The Pandubbi did not hate you. It did not want revenge. It was simply hungry. It was simply lonely. And it used your own nature against you. This is the tragedy of the Pandubbi. It is a spirit born of tragedy, a drowned farmer who could not let go of the world of the living. It mimics the behavior of the living, asking for tobacco, seeking connection. But it cannot understand that connection. It only understands possession. It wants to pull you down into its darkness, to make you part of its eternal isolation. As the sand fills you completely, the pain fades. The cold numbs everything. The fear dissolves into a strange, detached acceptance. You are no longer afraid. You are simply still. You are part of the river now. You are part of the silence. You are part of the sand. And then, there is nothing. The consciousness fades. The last thought is not of fear, but of a strange, eerie peace. The peace of the deep. The peace of the grave. The peace of being forgotten. This is the end of the story for most victims. Their bodies are never found. Their families search for years. They cast nets into the river. They dredge the banks. They pray to the gods. But the river keeps its secrets. The sand holds them tight. The Pandubbi has claimed its due. But there is one story. One story that breaks the pattern. One story that defies the silence of the deep. It is a story of survival. It is a story of a woman who looked into the eyes of the Pandubbi and saw not a ghost, but a monster. And in that moment of clarity, she found the strength to escape. This is the story of the grandmother from the village of Banka. A woman who lived to be very old, who sat by the riverbank every evening, watching the water. She never swam again after that night. She never let her grandchildren swim near the banks. And when they asked why, she would tell them the story. Not as a ghost story, but as a warning. A warning about the dangers of kindness. A warning about the darkness that lies beneath the surface. Let us listen to her story. Let us hear what she saw. Let us understand how she escaped the grasp of the Pandubbi. The riverbank was quiet that night. The moon was high, casting long shadows across the reeds. The grandmother, young and strong, had been swimming in the shallows. It was a warm night, and the water was inviting. She had not thought of the legends. She had not thought of the Pandubbi. She was just a woman, enjoying the coolness of the river after a hot day. But then, she felt it. A touch. A slimy, cold touch on her ankle. She looked down. The water was clear enough to see. And there, in the darkness beneath her, was something moving. It was not a fish. It was not a snake. It was a hand. A pale, slimy hand, reaching up from the depths. She tried to pull away, but the hand was strong. It held on. And then, another hand appeared. And then, a face. A face that looked like a farmer, but wrong. The eyes were too wide. The smile was too wide. And it was asking for tobacco. She froze. She remembered the stories. She remembered the warnings. But she was too scared to move. The hand tightened. It pulled her down. The water rushed into her mouth. The darkness closed in. But then, she did something that no one expected. She did not scream. She did not panic. She looked into the eyes of the Pandubbi. And she saw the truth. She saw the sadness. She saw the hunger. And she saw the weakness. The Pandubbi was not invincible. It was a spirit. And spirits can be broken. She kicked. She kicked with all her strength. She kicked at the hand. She kicked at the face. And the Pandubbi, surprised by her defiance, loosened its grip. Just for a second. Just enough. She broke the surface. She gasped for air. She swam. She swam with the speed of desperation. She swam until her lungs burned. She swam until she reached the shore. She collapsed on the sand, trembling, shaking. She looked back at the river. The water was calm. The moon was shining. But she knew. She knew that the Pandubbi was still there. Waiting. Watching. She never swam again. But she never forgot. And she told the story. So that others would not make the same mistake. So that others would know the truth. The truth is that the Pandubbi is real. The truth is that the river is dangerous. And the truth is that kindness can be a trap. But let us not end on fear. Let us end on protection. For in the Anga region, there is a goddess who watches over the river. A goddess who protects the people from the spirits of the deep. A goddess who offers a shield against the darkness. Her name is Ma Mansa Bishari. And her story is one of power. Of transformation. Of protection. Let us turn to her. Let us listen to her story. Let us find comfort in her presence. For the river is not just a place of death. It is also a place of life. And there are those who watch over it. Those who keep the balance. Those who ensure that the darkness does not consume everything. Ma Mansa Bishari is one of them. And her story begins with a snake. A bite. And a transformation. Let us go to the temple. Let us light a lamp. Let us pray. For the night is long. But the goddess is watching. And she will keep you safe. So, as we leave the riverbed, as we rise from the depths, let us carry the memory of the Pandubbi with us. Let us respect the river. Let us respect the stories. And let us remember that there is a light that guides us home. The light of the goddess. The light of protection. The light of hope. And now, let us turn to that light. Let us hear the story of Ma Mansa Bishari. The goddess of snakes. The protector of the Anga region. Her story is one of love. Of loss. And of ultimate power. Let us listen. The stories of the Pandubbi are not merely warnings etched into the fabric of Bihari folklore, they are living, breathing entities that have been passed down through generations, carried in the whispers of elders and the wide-eyed tales of children. While the general description of the spirit, its appearance, its lure, its deadly nature, forms the backbone of the legend, it is the personal encounters that give the story its terrifying weight. It is one thing to hear that a water ghost exists, it is another to hear from a woman who looked into its eyes and survived. And there is no story more poignant, more visceral, and more haunting than the encounter of a grandmother from a small village near the banks of the Ganges, a story that has been told in her family for decades, not as a myth, but as a memory. This grandmother, let us call her Dottie for the sake of this tale, was a woman of strong constitution and deep faith. She lived in the Anga region, where the river is not just a body of water but a deity, a provider, and a destroyer. Like many women of her time, she spent her days by the river, washing clothes, drawing water, and swimming in the cooler hours of the day. The river was her home, her workplace, and her sanctuary. She knew the currents, the depths, and the hidden channels of the Ganges in her tributaries better than she knew the lines on her own hands. She believed, as most people did, that the river was safe during the day, that the spirits of the water slept or remained distant when the sun was high. It was a belief that many have held, and it is a belief that has cost many their lives. The incident took place during the monsoon season, a time when the river is swollen, turbulent, and unpredictable. The rains had been falling for weeks, turning the soil to mud and the river to a churning mass of brown water. The air was thick with humidity, heavy with the scent of wet earth and decaying vegetation. Dottie had finished her chores for the day and, feeling the oppressive heat of the afternoon, decided to take a swim. It was a common practice, a way to cool the body and refresh the spirit. She waded into the water, the current tugging at her legs, the mud squelching beneath her feet. She swam out a little way, finding a spot where the water was deeper and the current was slightly less fierce. She floated on her back, letting the water support her weight, closing her eyes against the glare of the sun. It was in this state of relaxation, of trust, that the danger approached. She did not see it coming. She did not hear it. The Pandubbi, in its true form, is not always visible. It is a shadow, a sensation, a disturbance in the water. As Dottie floated, she felt a sudden, sharp pain in her foot. It was not the sting of a weed or the scratch of a stone. It was a cold, slimy pressure, as if something had wrapped itself around her ankle. She opened her eyes, startled, and looked down. The water was murky, swirling with silt and debris. But in the dim light, she could see it. Something was moving beneath her, something dark and elongated. It was not a fish. It was not a log. It was a hand. A human hand, pale and bloated, reaching up from the depths. It wrapped around her ankle with a grip that was surprisingly strong, cold and slimy. Dottie gasped, her heart pounding in her chest. She tried to pull her leg away, but the grip tightened. Panic, cold and sharp, pierced through her relaxation. She kicked out with her other leg, splashing the water, trying to dislodge the unseen entity. But the Pandubbi does not let go easily. It is a spirit of persistence, of hunger. As Dottie struggled, she felt another hand, then another, grabbing at her legs, her waist. The water around her began to churn, not from her movements, but from the spirits. It was pulling her down. She screamed, a raw, terrified sound that echoed off the riverbanks. She thrashed in the water, trying to swim to the surface, but the current seemed to have changed. It was no longer carrying her, it was dragging her. The weight of the spirit was immense, as if it were an anchor, pulling her into the abyss. Dottie remembered later that she felt a profound sense of cold, a cold that penetrated her skin, her bones, her soul. It was the cold of the deep riverbed, the cold of death. She looked down again, and this time, she saw the face. It was the face of a farmer, or so it seemed, but distorted, twisted by the water. Its eyes were wide, pleading, hypnotic. It was asking for something. Dottie could not hear the words, but she could feel the intent. It was asking for tobacco, for a biddies, for a moment of connection. It was using the lure, the very mechanism that traps so many victims. It was trying to distract her, to make her hesitate, to make her engage. But Dottie was a woman of strong will, and she was a woman of faith. She did not hesitate. She did not engage. Instead, she did the only thing she could think of. She reached into the small pouch she always carried, a pouch that held her prayer beads and a small piece of iron, a talisman given to her by a local priest. She pulled out the iron and slammed it against the spirit's face. It was a futile gesture, perhaps, but it was a gesture of defiance. The iron, blessed and charged with intent, seemed to burn the spirit's skin. The grip on her ankle loosened, just for a moment. In that moment, Dottie kicked with all her strength, breaking free from the spirit's grasp. She scrambled to the surface, gasping for air, her lungs burning. She looked around, terrified, expecting to see the spirit rise, to see it emerge from the water. But it was gone. The water was calm, the current gentle. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the river. Dottie swam to the bank, her legs trembling, her heart still racing. She collapsed on the mud, shaking, crying. She knew what she had seen. She knew what she had escaped. This story, passed down from Dottie to her children, and from them to their children, is not just a tale of survival. It is a testament to the power of belief, of faith, and of quick thinking. It is a reminder that the Pandubbi is not invincible, that it can be resisted, that it can be defeated. But it is also a reminder of the danger that lurks beneath the surface, the danger that waits for those who are careless, those who are kind, those who are vulnerable. The grandmother's encounter is significant because it humanizes the legend. It moves the Pandubbi from the realm of abstract myth to the realm of personal experience. It is no longer just a story told to frighten children, it is a memory shared by a woman who lived it. This is how folklore survives, how it remains relevant, how it continues to shape the behavior and beliefs of communities. It is not enough to say that the Pandubbi is dangerous. One must show, one must tell, one must make the listener feel the cold, slimy grip of the spirit, the panic of the struggle, the relief of the escape. Dadi's story also highlights the role of personal anecdotes in keeping the legend alive. In a world where written records are scarce, where history is oral, these stories are the vessels of memory. They are the threads that weave the tapestry of culture, connecting the past to the present, the living to the dead. When Dadi told her story, she did not just recount events, she imparted wisdom. She taught her family to respect the river, to be cautious, to be aware. She taught them that the Pandubbi is real, that it is watching, that it is waiting. The story of Dadi is also a story of resilience. She was a woman who faced death and survived. She was a woman who refused to let fear dictate her life. After the incident, she continued to swim in the river, but she did so with caution, with respect, with awareness. She never forgot the cold grip of the spirit, the pleading eyes, the lure of tobacco. She carried that memory with her, a constant reminder of the fragility of life, the power of the unknown. This personal encounter also serves as a bridge to the broader cultural context of the region. The Pandubbi is not an isolated entity, it is part of a larger ecosystem of spirits, deities, and beliefs. It is a reflection of the fears and hopes of the people who live by the river. It is a mirror of their relationship with nature, with the unknown, with death. The story of Dadi is a story of that relationship, of the tension between trust and fear, between life and death. As we listen to Dadi's story, we are drawn into her world, into the murky waters of the Ganges, into the darkness of the riverbed. We feel her panic, her relief, her gratitude. We are reminded of the power of storytelling, of the way that words can transport us, can make us feel, can make us remember. We are reminded that the Pandubbi is not just a ghost, it is a symbol, a metaphor, a lesson. It is a lesson about caution, about respect, about the dangers of kindness without wisdom. The grandmother's encounter is a pivotal moment in the folklore of the Pandubbi. It is a moment of truth, of revelation, of survival. It is a moment that has been retold and retold, adapted and reshaped, but always with the core truth intact. The spirit is real. The danger is real. The escape is possible. And the memory is eternal. As the sun sets on the river, as the mist rises from the water, we are left with the image of Dadi, standing on the bank, shaking, crying, alive. We are left with the story, the memory, the lesson. And we are left with the question, what would we do? Would we hesitate? Would we engage? Would we fight? Would we survive? The story of Dadi is a story that stays with us, that haunts us, that guides us. It is a story that reminds us of the power of the past, the power of memory, the power of folklore. It is a story that connects us to the people who came before us, to the people who will come after us. It is a story that is not just about a ghost, but about us, about our fears, our hopes, our lives. And as we turn from the riverbank, from the memory of Dadi, we turn to the next part of our journey, to the next story, to the next lesson. We turn to the goddess, to the protector, to the one who watches over us. We turn to Ma Mansa Bishari. The river flows on, the mist rises, the spirits sleep. But the stories remain, waiting to be told, waiting to be heard, waiting to be remembered. And so, we listen. We listen to the next story, the next memory, the next truth. We listen to the story of Ma Mansa Bishari, the goddess of snakes, the protector of the Anga region, the one who balances fear with protection, danger with safety. Her story is one of love, of loss, of ultimate power. Her story is one that has been told for centuries, that has been revered, that has been feared. Her story is one that we must hear, that we must understand, that we must respect. So let us turn to her. Let us listen to her story. Let us learn from her wisdom. Let us find her protection. Let us find her grace. Let us find her love. The river is quiet. The night is still. The spirits are watching. And we are ready to listen. The story of Ma Mansa Bishari begins not with a curse, but with a bite. It begins with pain, with fear, with death. But it ends with power, with life, with divinity. It is a story of transformation, of transcendence, of ultimate victory. It is a story that we must hear, that we must understand, that we must cherish. So let us begin. Let us listen. Let us learn. Let us live. The goddess waits. The story begins. And we are ready. The river flows. The mist rises. The spirits sleep. And we listen. We listen to the story of Ma Mansa Bishari, the goddess of snakes, the protector of the Anga region, the one who watches over us. Her story is one of love, of loss, of ultimate power. Let us listen. Let us hear. Let us remember. The story begins. The goddess speaks. And we listen. The river is quiet. The night is still. The spirits are watching. And we are ready. Ready to hear the story of Ma Mansa Bishari. Ready to learn from her wisdom. Ready to find her protection. Ready to find her grace. Ready to find her love. The story begins. Let us listen. The goddess speaks. And we are ready. The river flows. The mist rises. The spirits sleep. And we listen. We listen to the story of Ma Mansa Bishari, the goddess of snakes, the protector of the Anga region, the one who watches over us. Her story is one of love, of loss, of ultimate power. Let us listen. Let us hear. Let us remember. The story begins. The goddess speaks. And we listen. The river is quiet. The night is still. The spirits are watching. And we are ready. Ready to hear the story of Ma Mansa Bishari. Ready to learn from her wisdom. Ready to find her protection. Ready to find her grace. Ready to find her love. The story begins. Let us listen. The goddess speaks. And we are ready. The river flows on, dark and endless, carrying with it the secrets of the deep. But we do not stay in the darkness. We do not linger in the cold, slimy embrace of the Pandubbi's domain. For in the land of Anga, in the fertile, humid heart of Bihar, fear is only half the story. The other half is protection. The other half is grace. And if the Pandubbi is the shadow that stretches across the riverbank at midnight, asking for tobacco, then Ma Mansa Bishari is the light that rises with the morning sun, offering her hand to the bitten, the broken, and the faithful. We must understand that the people of this region do not live in a world of simple binaries. They do not see the world as purely good or purely evil. They see it as a balance. A delicate, trembling balance between the forces that seek to pull us under and the forces that seek to lift us up. The Pandubbi represents the chaos of nature, the sudden, violent death that comes without warning from the water. But Ma Mansa Bishari represents the order of nature, the healing power that comes from the earth, the resilience of life that persists even in the face of poison. She is the goddess of snakes, yes, but she is also the goddess of healing. She is the one who holds the snake, not to kill it, but to tame it. To show us that even the most dangerous things in life can be mastered, can be understood, can be used for good. To know Ma Mansa Bishari is to know the soul of Bihar. She is not a distant deity, remote and unapproachable. She is a local goddess, rooted in the soil, known by name in every village, every hamlet, every home along the banks of the Ganges and its tributaries. She is the mother who watches over her children when they sleep. She is the protector who stands between us and the venom. And her story is one of transformation, of pain turned into power, of a young girl who became a goddess not through birthright, but through suffering and sacrifice. Let us travel back in time. Let us go to a small, quiet village in the Anga region, a place where the air is thick with the scent of jasmine and wet earth. The sun is setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The fields are quiet. The cows are resting. And in a humble home, a young girl sits by the window, watching the world go by. Her name is Mansa. She is beautiful, not in the way of queens or princesses, but in the way of flowers, simple, pure, and full of life. She is kind. She is gentle. She loves her family. She loves her village. And she loves the snakes. Yes, you heard that correctly. She loves the snakes. While others fear them, while others flee from their hiss, Mansa watches them with curiosity and respect. She sees them not as monsters, but as creatures of the earth, as part of the natural order. She knows that they are dangerous, yes, but she also knows that they are necessary. They control the rats. They keep the balance. And so, she leaves offerings of milk and sweets for them, not out of fear, but out of gratitude. She understands the language of the earth, the silent communication between human and animal. And the snakes, in their own way, respect her. They do not harm her. They watch her. They know that she is different. But life in the village is not always peaceful. There are tensions. There are conflicts. And there is a king, a powerful man who rules over the land with an iron fist. He is proud. He is arrogant. He believes that he is above the laws of nature, above the gods. And he does not respect Mansa. He does not respect the snakes. He sees them as pests, as things to be killed, to be eradicated. And so, he issues a decree. No more offerings. No more respect. The snakes are to be hunted. The temples are to be closed. And Mansa is to be silenced. Mansa does not fight with weapons. She does not raise an army. She fights with her spirit. She continues to leave her offerings. She continues to speak the truth. And this angers the king. He sees her defiance as a threat to his power. And so, he decides to punish her. He decides to destroy her. One night, the king sends his guards to the village. They come with fire and steel. They burn the homes. They destroy the temples. And they come for Mansa. They capture her. They bind her. And they take her to the palace. There, in the courtyard, before the eyes of the terrified villagers, the king orders her death. But he does not order it to be quick. He does not order it to be merciful. He orders it to be painful. He orders it to be symbolic. He brings out a snake. A large, venomous cobra. Its hood is spread wide, its eyes black and empty. It hisses, a sound that freezes the blood in the veins of the onlookers. The king looks at Mansa. He smiles. He says, "You love your snakes, Mansa. Then let them judge you." And he places the snake on the ground, before Mansa. He commands her to touch it. To embrace it. To show her love. Mansa looks at the snake. She does not flinch. She does not cry. She sees the fear in the eyes of the crowd. She sees the cruelty in the eyes of the king. And she understands. This is not about snakes. This is about power. This is about control. This is about breaking the spirit of a people. And so, Mansa does what no one expects. She does not run. She does not beg. She reaches out. She touches the snake. And she embraces it. She holds it close to her chest. And she whispers to it. She speaks to it in the language of the earth. And the snake, sensing her purity, her fearlessness, her love, does not strike. It rests. It calms. It becomes part of her. But the king is not satisfied. He sees this as magic. He sees this as a challenge. And so, he orders the snake to bite her. He orders her to die. The snake, under the command of the king, strikes. Its fangs pierce Mansa's skin. The venom flows into her veins. It is cold. It is burning. It is death. The crowd gasps. The king laughs. He thinks he has won. He thinks he has broken her. But Mansa does not die. She sits there, holding the snake, her eyes closed, her face peaceful. The venom courses through her body, but it does not kill her. It transforms her. It changes her. It turns her pain into power. It turns her suffering into strength. And as the sun rises, as the first light of dawn touches the palace courtyard, Mansa opens her eyes. And they are no longer human eyes. They are golden. They are glowing. They are the eyes of a goddess. She stands up. She releases the snake. And the snake, now free, bows to her. It acknowledges her. It worships her. And the king, terrified, falls to his knees. He realizes his mistake. He realizes that he has not killed a girl. He has created a goddess. Mansa looks at the king. She does not punish him. She does not kill him. She forgives him. She says, I am not here to take revenge. I am here to heal. I am here to protect. I am here to show you that even the most dangerous things in life can be mastered. And with that, she ascends. She rises into the sky, leaving behind a trail of light. And she becomes Ma Mansa Bishari, the mother of snakes, the goddess of healing. This is the story of Ma Mansa Bishari. It is a story of transformation, of pain turned into power, of a young girl who became a goddess not through birthright, but through suffering and sacrifice. And it is a story that resonates deeply with the people of Bihar. For they know pain. They know suffering. They know the danger of the snakes, the danger of the rivers, the danger of the world. And they know that they need protection. They need a goddess who understands their fear, who shares their pain, who offers them hope. Ma Mansa Bishari is not just a deity. She is a symbol. She is a reminder that we are not alone. That even in the darkest moments, there is light. That even in the face of death, there is life. That even in the presence of the Pandubbi, there is protection. The Pandubbi drags us down. Ma Mansa Bishari lifts us up. The Pandubbi is the chaos of nature. Ma Mansa Bishari is the order of nature. The Pandubbi is the fear of the unknown. Ma Mansa Bishari is the comfort of the known. They are two sides of the same coin. Two halves of the same whole. And to understand one, we must understand the other. In the villages of Bihar, you will see statues of Ma Mansa Bishari in every home, every temple, every field. She is depicted with a snake around her neck, holding a pot of nectar, her eyes calm and compassionate. She is the mother who watches over her children. She is the protector who stands between us and the venom. And when the nights are dark, when the river is misty, when the Pandubbi calls from the shadows, the people of Bihar do not tremble in fear. They light a lamp. They offer a prayer. They call upon Ma Mansa Bishari. And they know that they are safe. For she is with them. She is in the air. She is in the earth. She is in the water. She is in their hearts. And she will never let them fall. But the story of Ma Mansa Bishari is not just a local legend. It is part of a larger tapestry, a vast, intricate web of mythology that connects Bihar to the rest of India, to the rest of the world. For the story of the snake, the story of the curse, the story of death and rebirth, is a universal story. It is a story that has been told for thousands of years, in many languages, in many cultures. And one of the most famous versions of this story comes from the Bhagavata Purana, from the life of King Parikshit. King Parikshit. A name that echoes through the halls of history. A king who was cursed by a sage, who was destined to die by a snake bite. A king who accepted his fate with grace, who spent his final days in meditation, seeking liberation. And his story is one of acceptance, of surrender, of finding peace in the face of death. It is a story that mirrors the story of Mansa Bishari, of transformation, of pain turned into power. And it is a story that connects us to the divine, to the eternal, to the infinite. Let us turn our minds to King Parikshit. Let us listen to his story. Let us learn from his wisdom. Let us find his peace. The story begins. Let us listen. The king speaks. And we are ready. The air in the ancient city of Hastinapura is thick with the scent of sandalwood and incense, a heavy, sweet perfume that clings to the skin and settles deep in the lungs. It is a scent of royalty, of power, of a kingdom that has stood for generations. But beneath the fragrance of devotion, there is a tension, a subtle vibration in the air that suggests the ground beneath the palace stones is not as solid as it seems. King Parikshit sits upon his throne, a man of noble lineage, the grandson of the great Arjuna. He is young, vibrant, and burdened by the weight of a crown that feels heavier than iron. His kingdom is prosperous, his people are content, yet his eyes hold a shadow that no amount of gold can illuminate. He is a king who knows the stories of his ancestors, the great epics of war and dharma, but he is also a man who understands the fragility of life. It is said that Parikshit was a just ruler, but he was not without flaw. His flaw was not malice, but a moment of impatience, a spark of anger that flared and died in an instant, yet left a scar that would last a lifetime. The story of his curse begins not in the palace, but in the forests that border his kingdom. These forests are dense, ancient, and filled with the whispers of sages who have renounced the world for the silence of nature. It is here that Parikshit, in his youth, made a mistake that would define his fate. He was hunting, as kings often do, seeking to test his skill with the bow. But the hunt was not for sport, it was for sustenance, for the provision of the kingdom. Yet, in his haste, he stumbled upon a hermitage, a small, humble ashram nestled in the heart of a sacred grove. The hermitage was quiet, peaceful, a sanctuary for a sage who had taken a vow of silence and meditation. Parikshit, unaware of the sanctity of the place, or perhaps too arrogant to respect it, entered the grove. He saw a young boy, the son of the sage, sitting outside the hut, tending to a fire. The boy was calm, serene, but Parikshit, in his haste and irritation, demanded to know where the sage was. The boy, adhering to his father's instruction to remain silent during his meditation, did not answer. Parikshit's patience snapped. In a moment of blind rage, he picked up a dead snake, a lifeless thing, and placed it around the boy's neck. It was a cruel joke, a display of power, a way to assert his dominance over the quiet, the humble, the unseen. He laughed, a harsh, jagged sound that echoed through the trees, disturbing the peace of the forest. But the boy did not cry. He did not struggle. He simply sat there, his eyes closed, his face a mask of stillness. And then, the sage emerged. The sage was old, his skin like parchment, his eyes like deep wells of wisdom. He looked at Parikshit, not with anger, but with a profound, terrifying sadness. He saw the king not as a ruler, but as a man lost in the illusion of his own importance. He saw the snake, dead and cold, around the boy's neck, and he saw the cruelty in the king's heart. The sage did not shout. He did not curse Parikshit with a scream of vengeance. Instead, he spoke softly, his voice like the rustling of dry leaves. He said, "You have treated a child with disrespect, and a sage with ignorance. You have shown that you do not understand the sanctity of life, nor the power of silence. For this, you will face the consequence of your actions. You will die by the bite of a snake." It was not a curse of hatred. It was a curse of truth. It was a reflection of the king's own nature, a mirror held up to his soul. Parikshit, shocked and humbled, tried to apologize, but the sage was gone, vanished into the shadows of the forest, leaving only the echo of his words behind. The years passed. Parikshit ruled wisely, but the shadow of the curse followed him. He lived in constant fear, not of death, but of the inevitability of it. He knew that one day, the snake would come. And so, he prepared. He built a tower, a high, fortified structure in the center of his city, surrounded by walls and guards. He removed all snakes from the kingdom, hunting them down, destroying their nests, ensuring that no serpent could ever enter his realm. He lived in safety, in isolation, in a bubble of his own making. But the curse was not bound by walls or guards. It was bound by fate, by the natural order of the universe. And fate, like water, always finds a way. One day, a sage named Shringi came to the city. He was a man of great power, a descendant of the sage who had cursed Parikshit. He came to the king's tower, not to attack, but to pay his respects. But Parikshit, in his fear and paranoia, refused to see him. He believed that Shringi had come to bring the curse to fruition, to deliver the bite that would end his life. Shringi, undeterred by the king's refusal, waited outside the tower. He sat in the courtyard, meditating, his presence a calm, steady force against the king's anxiety. And then, a small snake, unnoticed and unharmed by the king's hunters, slithered into the courtyard. It was a tiny creature, no larger than a finger, but it carried the sting of death. It climbed up the walls of the tower, drawn by the warmth of the sage's body, or perhaps by the scent of fear that emanated from the king. It reached the top, and it bit Shringi. The sage did not die. He remained calm, serene, his eyes closed in meditation. But the king, watching from his window, saw the snake. He saw the tiny creature, the instrument of his doom. And in that moment, he understood. The walls had not protected him. The guards had not saved him. The curse was not an enemy to be defeated, but a truth to be accepted. Parikshit descended from the tower, not in fear, but in peace. He went to Shringi, who was still sitting in the courtyard, unharmed, unbothered. He apologized, not for the past, but for his fear. He realized that the curse was not a punishment, but a teacher. It was a reminder that life is fragile, that death is inevitable, and that the only thing we can control is how we face it. And so, Parikshit did not hide. He did not run. He sat in the courtyard, with the sage, and he began to meditate. He accepted his fate, not with resignation, but with grace. He prepared his mind, his spirit, for the journey ahead. He knew that the snake would come again, but this time, he would be ready. The story of Parikshit is not just a tale of a king and a curse. It is a story about the human condition. It is about our fear of death, our desire for control, and our ultimate acceptance of the unknown. It is about the wisdom of letting go, of finding peace in the face of uncertainty. As we listen to this story, let us think about our own lives. What are the walls we build to protect ourselves? What are the fears that keep us awake at night? And what would it look like to let go, to accept, to find peace in the present moment? The night is deep. The stars are bright. The river flows on, indifferent to our fears, yet full of wisdom. Let us listen to the river. Let us listen to the sage. Let us listen to the king. And let us find our own peace. The story continues. The king sits. The snake comes. But there is no fear. Only acceptance. Only peace. Only love. Let us breathe. Let us be still. Let us listen. The end of part A. The king waits. The snake approaches. But the king is ready. He is not afraid. He is at peace. And so are we. Let us continue. The next part of the story is coming. But for now, let us rest. Let us breathe. Let us be. The silence is deep. The peace is real. And the story is yours. Listen. Breathe. Sleep. The end of Part A. Section 9, King Parikshit and the Snake Curse. The river flows on, indifferent to the stories it carries. It holds them in its silt, in its deep, dark currents, and in the mist that rises when the sun goes down. But not all stories are about fear. Not all legends are warnings. Some are about dignity. some are about how a man faces the end of his days. And so, we turn from the slimy, shifting shadows of the Pandubbi to the golden, sun-drenched halls of Hastinapura. We move from the cold, muddy banks of the Ganges to the warm, stone courtyards of a kingdom ruled by a king who knew his time was short. This is the story of King Parikshit. He was the grandson of Arjuna, the great archer of the Mahabharata. He was the son of Abhimanyu, who had died so bravely in the Great War. Parikshit was born in the womb of his mother, Uttara, while she was still in the womb, protected by the divine power of Krishna. He was a king born of miracle, a king born of survival. And for 40 years, he ruled with justice. He was loved by his people. He was just. He was kind. He walked through his kingdom, not in a palanquin, but on foot, listening to the complaints of the poor, ensuring that no one went hungry, that no one was oppressed. He was a ruler who cared. But fate, like the river, has a current that cannot be stopped. One day, Parikshit was hunting in the forest. He was chasing a deer, his bow drawn, his heart full of the thrill of the chase. The deer led him deep into the woods, into a grove of trees that were old and silent. The air was still. The birds had stopped singing. And there, in the center of the grove, sat a sage. The sage was young, with bright eyes and a calm demeanor. But he was not alone. Around him, coiled tightly around a tree, was a snake. It was small, but it was still. It was waiting. Parikshit approached the sage. He did not see the danger. He only saw a man sitting in the forest, and he wanted to test his devotion. Or perhaps, in his arrogance, he wanted to see if the sage was truly holy. Parikshit took a dead snake, a snake that had died naturally, and he placed it gently around the sage's shoulders. It was a prank. It was a test. But it was also an insult. The sage did not move. He did not flinch. But his eyes opened. They were not angry. They were sad. "You have insulted me," the sage said. His voice was soft, but it carried the weight of thunder. "You have placed a dead snake on a holy man. This is a grave sin." Parikshit laughed. "I am the king," he said. "I can do what I wish. What can you do to me? Can you kill me?" The sage looked at him. And in that look, there was no hate. There was only truth. "I cannot kill you," the sage said. "But I can curse you. And my curse is this: in 7 days, you will die by the bite of a snake. No weapon, no shield, no god can save you. You will die by the bite of a snake." Parikshit bowed. He did not argue. He did not threaten. He accepted the curse. "Then I will go," he said. "And I will spend my last 7 days as I wish." He returned to the palace. But he did not stay. He knew that death was coming. He knew that he could not fight it. So, he did what any wise man would do. He prepared for the end. He gave away his wealth. He distributed his gold, his jewels, his land. He made sure his people were taken care of. He said goodbye to his family. He hugged his mother, Uttara, and told her to be strong. He hugged his wife, and told her to find happiness. And then, he left the palace. He went to the banks of the Ganges. He found a small island, a place of silence and stillness. And there, he sat. He did not hide. He did not fear. He sat in the sun, and he waited. 7 days passed. On the 7th day, the air changed. The birds stopped singing. The wind stopped blowing. The silence was heavy. It was the silence of anticipation. Parikshit sat in meditation. He closed his eyes. He breathed slowly. He thought of his life. He thought of his father, who had died in war. He thought of his grandfather, Arjuna, who had fought for Dharma. He thought of Krishna, who had guided them all. He was not afraid. He was ready. And then, he heard a sound. It was a hiss. It was soft. It was quiet. Parikshit opened his eyes. There, on the ground before him, was a snake. It was small. It was black. It was beautiful. It was the snake of the curse. It was Shisha, the serpent of time. Parikshit did not move. He did not run. He did not scream. He looked at the snake. And he smiled. "You have come," he said. The snake raised its head. It looked at the king. And in that look, there was no malice. There was only duty. The snake was doing what it had to do. Parikshit closed his eyes. He accepted his fate. The snake struck. It was quick. It was painless. And then, silence. King Parikshit was gone. But his story did not end. Because in his final days, while he sat on the island, waiting for death, he asked a group of sages to tell him stories. He wanted to know the truth. He wanted to know the meaning of life. And the sages told him the story of the Bhagavata Purana. They told him of Krishna. They told him of love. They told him of devotion. They told him that death is not the end. It is a transformation. It is a return. Parikshit listened. He learned. He understood. And when the snake struck, he was not afraid. He was not confused. He was at peace. This is the story of King Parikshit. It is a story about acceptance. It is a story about dignity. It is a story about how we face the end. We cannot control when we die. We cannot control the accidents of life. We cannot control the snakes in the grass. But we can control how we live. We can control how we prepare. We can control how we let go. Parikshit did not waste his last 7 days in fear. He did not waste them in anger. He spent them in peace. He spent them in love. He spent them in truth. And that is why his story is remembered. Not because he died, but because he lived. The river flows on. The mist rises. The Pandubbi waits in the shadows. But here, on the island, there is only silence. And in that silence, there is peace. You are safe. You are held. You are loved. And you are not alone. The story continues. But for now, let us rest. Let us breathe. Let us be. The night is deep. The stars are bright. And the king is at peace. Listen. Breathe. Sleep. The end of Part B. The stories of Bihar are not merely warnings, they are also hymns. They are not just shadows cast by fear, but light reflected from courage. For every tale of a spirit that drags you into the dark, there is a story of a soul that walks into the dark to bring someone back. We have spoken of the Pandubbi, the water ghost that exploits kindness. We have spoken of the gods who demand respect. And we have spoken of kings who accept their fate with grace. But now, we turn to a different kind of royalty. We turn to a love story that is as old as the river itself, a tale that reminds us that loyalty is the strongest magic of all. This is the story of Kakni and Mahuli. Imagine, if you will, a time long before the modern maps were drawn. Imagine the court of King Rudrasena, a ruler of the Anga region, a man of power but also a man of deep sorrow. He had no sons, only one daughter, the beloved Princess Mahuli. Mahuli was known for her beauty, yes, but more so for her spirit. She was curious, bold, and possessed a heart that was open to the world. She did not hide behind the high walls of the palace, she sought the company of the people, the farmers, the fishermen, the weavers. She wanted to know the land her father ruled. And it was in this land that she met Kakni. Kakni was not a princess. She was the daughter of a humble farmer, a girl who knew the weight of a harvest and the sting of the sun. But she possessed a wisdom that often surpassed those born to silk and gold. She was sharp-witted, brave, and fiercely loyal. When Mahuli wandered outside the palace grounds, often accompanied by her handmaidens, it was Kakni who spoke to her first. It was Kakni who offered her water when she was thirsty, and shade when she was hot. Their friendship blossomed like a lotus in the monsoon rain, pure and unexpected. But in the rigid hierarchy of the kingdom, such a friendship was seen as a disruption. The courtiers whispered. They said that a princess should not consort with commoners. They said that Kakni was a distraction, a thief of the princess's time. And so, the king, concerned for his daughter's future and her reputation, decided to send Mahuli away. He sent her to a remote hermitage in the forest, a place of solitude and study, far from the distractions of the city. He believed that distance would restore order. He believed that silence would teach her her place. But he did not understand the nature of true friendship. Kakni could not bear the thought of Mahuli being alone in the wild, surrounded by dangers both human and natural. She could not bear the silence. So, Kakni made a decision that would change the course of her life forever. She disguised herself. She cut her hair short. She bound her chest. She dressed in the simple, rough clothes of a male servant. She adopted a masculine demeanor, a deeper voice, a stoic silence. And she followed Mahuli into the forest. She became Kakan, the loyal attendant. For years, they lived in the hermitage. Mahuli, believing Kakan to be a young man assigned by the king to serve her, grew to rely on him. She shared her thoughts, her fears, her dreams. She spoke of her love for the land, her desire to help the poor, her longing for a partner who understood her soul. And Kakan, listening with a heart full of love and pain, heard every word. She heard Mahuli speak of a love she had not yet met, a love that would be equal, that would be true. Kakan smiled, a sad, quiet smile, and said nothing. For Kakan was that love. But she could never be the partner Mahuli sought, not while wearing the mask of a man. The years passed. The forest grew dense. The seasons turned. And then, the crisis came. A great drought swept across the region. The rivers shrank. The crops withered. The people suffered. In her compassion, Mahuli decided to perform a ritual to bring rain. She went to the edge of the forest, to a sacred grove, and began to pray. She fasted. She meditated. She poured her soul into the earth, begging for relief for her people. But the drought was not just a natural phenomenon, it was a test. The gods, or perhaps the spirits of the forest, watched her. They saw her purity. They saw her selflessness. And they saw the danger. A powerful demon, drawn by the concentration of her spiritual energy, emerged from the shadows. He was a creature of greed and chaos, seeking to consume her light. He appeared before her, a towering figure of smoke and fire, demanding her submission. Mahuli stood her ground. She did not run. She did not beg. She raised her staff and defended her spirit. But the demon was strong. He overpowered her. He bound her with chains of darkness. He prepared to take her life, to extinguish the light she carried. Kakan, watching from the trees, felt her heart stop. She could not let her friend die. She could not let the light go out. Kakan stepped out of the shadows. She did not have magic. She did not have divine power. She had only her body, her strength, and her love. She threw herself at the demon. She was small, fragile, human. The demon laughed. He swatted her aside as one might swat a fly. She hit the ground, hard. Pain exploded in her bones. Blood filled her mouth. But she got up. She threw herself again. The demon, annoyed now, struck her down again. And again, she rose. He struck her a third time, a blow that shattered her ribs, that cracked her spine. She fell, broken, bleeding, dying. But as she lay on the ground, her vision fading, she looked at Mahuli. She saw the tears streaming down her friend's face. She saw the terror in her eyes. And with her last breath, she whispered a single word, a word of command, a word of truth. Mahuli. Run. But Mahuli did not run. She saw Kakan fall. She saw the blood. She saw the mask slip. In that moment of extreme grief, in that moment of absolute clarity, the illusion broke. Mahuli looked at the broken figure on the ground and she knew. She knew the voice. She knew the eyes. She knew the soul. Kakni, she screamed. The sound of her name, spoken with such love, such recognition, struck the demon like a thunderbolt. The demon, confused by the sudden shift in energy, hesitated. And in that hesitation, the truth of their bond erupted. Mahuli did not flee. She rushed to Kakni's side. She held her broken body in her arms. She wept. She poured her love into her friend, a love so pure, so fierce, that it became a shield. The demon, unable to withstand the power of such selfless love, recoiled. The darkness shattered. The smoke cleared. The demon vanished, banished by the light of their connection. But Kakni was dying. Mahuli held her. She begged the gods for mercy. She offered her own life in exchange for Kakni's. And the forest, moved by their devotion, answered. The king, who had been watching from afar, seeing the miracle, saw the truth. He saw that his daughter's happiness was not found in status, but in loyalty. He saw that Kakni had saved Mahuli's life, not with magic, but with sacrifice. He saw that Kakni was not a commoner, but a queen in spirit. He stepped forward. He took Mahuli in his arms. He took Kakni in his arms. And he said, "There are no masks here. There are no classes. There is only love." Kakni survived, though she bore the scars of her bravery. She and Mahuli returned to the palace, not as princess and servant, but as partners. The king did not force Mahuli into a political marriage. He allowed her to choose. And Mahuli chose Kakni. They lived their lives together, ruling with wisdom, serving with humility, and loving with a depth that inspired the entire kingdom. This story is not just a romance. It is a testament to the courage it takes to be oneself. Kakni had to hide who she was to save the person she loved. It was only when she was willing to die as Kakni that she was allowed to live as Kakni. Mahuli had to look past the surface, past the gender, past the status, to see the soul. And in doing so, she found the greatest treasure of all. The themes of this story are woven into the fabric of Bihari folklore. It teaches us that loyalty is not blind obedience, it is active protection. It teaches us that love is not possession, it is liberation. And it teaches us that true nobility is not in the blood, but in the actions. When we hear the wind in the trees, we may think of the Pandubbi. But when we hear the whisper of a friend, we may think of Kakni. We may think of the times we have hidden our true selves to fit in, to be safe, to be accepted. And we may think of the times someone saw through our masks and loved us anyway. The story of Kakni and Mahuli is a beacon. It says that you are not alone. It says that your loyalty is seen. It says that your love is powerful. And it says that even in the darkest forest, even in the deepest drought, there is a light that cannot be extinguished. The rain eventually came to the land. The rivers swelled. The crops grew. And the people celebrated, not just for the water, but for the love that brought it. But as the sun sets on this tale, as the light fades from the forest, we return to the riverbank. We return to the mist. We return to the ghost. For the story of the Pandubbi is not just a warning. It is a mirror. And in the eyes of the grandmother, in the gleam of the water, we see our own reflections. We see our fears. We see our desires. We see the stories that shape us. And so, we listen. We remember. We feel. The night is deep. The stars are bright. And the river flows on. Listen. Breathe. Sleep. The end of Part C. The air in the room grows still, heavy with the weight of memory and the faint, lingering scent of damp earth and old tobacco. We are no longer standing on the riverbank, nor are we floating in the deep, silent darkness of the riverbed. We have returned to the present, to the warmth of a home in the Anga region, to the circle of firelight where stories are not merely spoken, but enacted. This is where the legend of the Pandubbi transcends folklore and becomes a living, breathing entity, passed down through the generations not just in words, but in gesture, in tone, in the very gleam of the eye. Listen closely to the rhythm of the storytelling. It is not a monotone recitation. It is a performance. In the villages of Bihar, particularly in the riverine belts of Bhagalpur and Banka, the telling of the Pandubbi is an art form. It is a ritual. The storyteller, often an elder, a grandmother, or a respected village elder, does not simply describe the ghost. They become the ghost. They become the victim. They become the river itself. And it is in this transformation that the true terror, and the true lesson, of the Pandubbi is revealed. Imagine the scene. It is late evening. The sun has dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of bruised purple and charcoal gray. The family is gathered around the hearth, the fire crackling softly, casting long, dancing shadows against the mud brick walls. The children are quiet, their eyes wide, their bodies leaning forward in anticipation. They know what is coming. They have heard this story before, perhaps a dozen times, perhaps 100. But each time, it is new. Each time, it is terrifying. The storyteller begins softly, their voice a low murmur, like the gentle lapping of water against the shore. They speak of the heat of the day, the thirst that drives a man to the river, the promise of cool water and relief. The tone is calm, inviting, almost hypnotic. It is the tone of kindness. It is the tone of trust. And then, the shift. It is subtle at first. A change in the pitch of the voice. A slight pause. A glance away from the fire, into the darkness beyond the walls. The storyteller's posture changes. Their shoulders slump, their head tilts slightly to the side, as if listening to a sound only they can hear. And then, the eyes. This is the moment. The Pandubbi's gleam. The storyteller looks up, directly into the eyes of the listener, or perhaps into the fire, but with a gaze that is entirely vacant, entirely empty. The eyes do not sparkle with life. They do not reflect the firelight. Instead, they gleam with a cold, wet, unnatural light. It is the gleam of a fish's eye in the dark. It is the gleam of a corpse that has been submerged for days, swollen and pale, yet still watching. It is a look that is not human. It is a look that is hungry. Watch the storyteller's face. The muscles relax, slackening into a mask of eerie calm. The mouth opens slightly, not to speak, but to breathe, to inhale the moisture of the night. And then, the voice changes. It is no longer the voice of the elder. It is a wet, gurgling sound, like bubbles rising from the bottom of a deep pool. It is a plea. A whisper. Tobacco, the voice seems to say. Biddies. It is a simple request. A mundane request. In the culture of Bihar, offering tobacco to a guest, or to an elder, is a sign of respect. It is a gesture of goodwill. It is a social contract. And this is where the trap lies. The Pandubbi does not attack with violence. It attacks with politeness. It exploits the deepest, most ingrained instincts of the Bihari people, the duty to honor a stranger, the desire to be helpful, the fear of being rude. The storyteller mimics the voice of the Pandubbi, soft and pleading. I am cold, they whisper. I am thirsty. I have no money. But I have a wish. I wish for tobacco. The listener feels the pull. They feel the urge to nod, to offer, to help. But then, the storyteller smiles. It is not a kind smile. It is a wide, stretching smile, too wide for the face, revealing teeth that are yellowed and sharp. The eyes gleam again, brighter now, more intense. The glamour breaks. The mask slips. And the listener sees the truth. The figure is not a thirsty traveler. It is a slimy, rotting thing, dripping with river mud, its skin translucent and peeling, its fingers long and claw-like, webbed and black. The terror is visceral. It is not just fear of death. It is fear of the unknown. It is fear of the water. It is fear of the depths. And it is a fear that is shared by everyone in the room. The children shrink back. The adults hold their breath. The fire seems to dim. The darkness outside the walls presses in, closer now, heavier. This is how the story is performed. It is not just told. It is felt. It is embodied. The storyteller uses their body, their voice, their eyes to create a presence. They make the Pandubbi real. They make the danger real. And in doing so, they teach the lesson. The lesson is not just, stay away from the river at night. The lesson is deeper. It is about caution. It is about skepticism. It is about understanding that not everything that appears human is human. Not every plea for help is genuine. Not every stranger is a friend. In a world where the river can take you, where the water can hide monsters, you must be vigilant. You must be aware. You must trust your instincts. The storyteller continues, their voice dropping to a whisper, their eyes never leaving the fire. They describe the moment of realization. The victim, the listener, the self, sees the gleam. They see the truth. They try to run, but their feet are heavy, rooted to the spot. They try to speak, but their voice is gone. And then, the hand. A cold, slimy hand, gripping their ankle. The pull. The drag. The rush of water. The darkness. The storyteller shudders. They close their eyes. They hold their breath. And then, they exhale, slowly, deeply. The performance ends. The firelight returns. The room feels warmer, safer. The children relax. The adults smile, but their eyes are serious. They have felt it. They have seen it. They have remembered. This is the power of oral tradition. It is not just about preserving history. It is about shaping behavior. It is about instilling values. The story of the Pandubbi is a warning, but it is also a mirror. It reflects our fears, our desires, our vulnerabilities. It shows us who we are, and who we could be. It reminds us of the fragility of life, and the strength of community. In the Anga region, the Pandubbi is not just a ghost. It is a guardian. It is a protector. It keeps people away from the dangerous parts of the river. It keeps them safe. And it does so through fear. It uses terror to teach caution. It uses horror to promote survival. And in a world where the river is both life and death, this is a necessary balance. As the storyteller finishes, the silence in the room is profound. It is a silence filled with meaning. It is a silence that holds the weight of the story, the memory of the fear, the lesson of the gleam. And then, slowly, the fire crackles again. The shadows dance. The night continues. But the story remains. It lives in the eyes of the grandmother. It lives in the whispers of the wind. It lives in the dark waters of the Ganges. And it lives in us. We carry the Pandubbi with us. We carry the gleam. We carry the fear. And we carry the lesson. Listen. Breathe. Sleep. The end of Part D. And so, we find ourselves standing at the edge of the river once more, but this time, we are not looking for the ghost. We are looking for the meaning. We are looking for the heart of the story. It is easy to dismiss the Pandubbi as mere superstition. It is easy to say that these tales are simply the inventions of a fearful people, trying to explain the unknown with shadows and whispers. But if we listen closely, if we let the mist settle and the noise of the modern world fade into the background, we begin to hear a different voice. We begin to hear the wisdom of the ancestors. We begin to understand that the Pandubbi is not just a monster to be feared, but a teacher to be respected. In the rural heartland of Bihar, in the districts of Bhagalpur, Banka, and the surrounding regions of the Anga land, folklore is not a bedtime story. It is a survival guide. It is a map of the world, drawn in ink and blood and memory. These stories are woven into the fabric of daily life, as essential as the rice in the field, as necessary as the water from the well. They are the threads that hold the community together, binding the past to the present, the living to the dead, and the human to the divine. Consider the Pandubbi itself. On the surface, it is a terrifying figure, a slimy, grotesque entity that drags the unwary into the depths. But look deeper. Why does the Pandubbi ask for tobacco? Why does it mimic the voice of a farmer? Why does it lure its victims to the riverbank at night? The answer lies in the very nature of the river. The Ganges and its tributaries are life givers. They bring water for drinking, for irrigation, for washing. They bring fish for food, for trade, for sustenance. But they are also dangerous. The currents are strong and unpredictable. The banks are slippery and unstable. The water is deep and dark. In a time before modern safety regulations, before life jackets and warning signs, the river was a place of constant risk. Children could drown. Adults could slip. Boats could capsize. The river demanded respect. It demanded caution. The story of the Pandubbi serves as a powerful warning. It teaches the young to stay away from the river at night. It teaches the solitary traveler to be wary of strangers. It teaches the kind-hearted to be discerning. It is a lesson in situational awareness, encoded in a narrative that is so vivid, so visceral, that it imprints itself on the mind and never fades. When a grandmother tells her grandchildren about the Pandubbi, she is not just telling a scary story. She is teaching them how to survive. She is teaching them to respect the power of nature. She is teaching them that the world is not always safe, and that kindness must be balanced with wisdom. The Pandubbi exploits politeness, exploiting the very virtues that make us human. It shows us that even our best qualities can be turned against us if we are not careful. It is a reminder that we must remain vigilant, even in the most familiar of places. This is the first layer of meaning, caution. But there is a second layer, one that is equally important. This is the layer of community. In Bihar, life is communal. People gather in courtyards, in fields, in temples. They share meals, they share labor, they share grief and joy. The oral tradition is the glue that holds this community together. When stories are told around a fire, or under the shade of a banyan tree, they create a shared experience. They create a shared identity. They remind people that they are part of something larger than themselves. The Pandubbi is not just a local legend, it is a regional one. It is known across the Anga region, in villages and towns, in cities and countryside. It is a story that connects people. It is a story that transcends caste and class, religion and language. It is a story that belongs to everyone. When people share the story of the Pandubbi, they are reinforcing their bonds with each other. They are saying, we are in this together. We share these fears, these hopes, these memories. This is the power of folklore. It creates a sense of belonging. It creates a sense of home. In a world that is often fragmented and alienating, these stories offer an anchor. They remind us that we are not alone. They remind us that we are part of a long line of ancestors who have faced the same fears, the same challenges, the same mysteries. They remind us that we are connected, not just to each other, but to the earth itself. And this brings us to the third layer of meaning, respect for the earth. The Pandubbi is a water spirit. It is born of the river. It is part of the natural world. In many traditional cultures, nature is not seen as a resource to be exploited, but as a living entity to be revered. The river is a goddess. The forest is a temple. The wind is a voice. The Pandubbi is a manifestation of this reverence. It is a reminder that we are not masters of the earth, but guests. We are dependent on it. We are vulnerable to it. The story of the Pandubbi teaches us to listen to the earth. It teaches us to pay attention to the signs. It teaches us to respect the balance. When we ignore the warnings, when we act with arrogance, when we take the river for granted, we invite disaster. The Pandubbi is the consequence of that arrogance. It is the earth striking back. It is the natural order asserting itself. This is a message that is more relevant today than ever before. In an age of climate change, of environmental degradation, of ecological crisis, the stories of the Pandubbi offer a profound insight. They remind us that nature is powerful. They remind us that we are small. They remind us that we must live in harmony with the earth, not in domination over it. But there is another aspect to these stories that is often overlooked. It is the aspect of memory. In a world that is increasingly digital, increasingly fast-paced, increasingly forgetful, the oral tradition of Bihar is a bastion of memory. It is a way of preserving history, of keeping the past alive. The stories of the Pandubbi, of Mamansa Bishari, of King Parikshit, of Kakni and Mahuli, are not just myths. They are histories. They are records of the people who came before us. They are records of their struggles, their triumphs, their loves, their losses. When we tell these stories, we are keeping the memory of our ancestors alive. We are honoring their lives. We are ensuring that their wisdom is not lost. We are passing on the torch. This is the role of the storyteller. The storyteller is a guardian. The storyteller is a keeper of the flame. The storyteller is a bridge between the past and the future. In Bihar, the storyteller is often an elder, a grandmother, a village wise man. They are respected and revered. They are the custodians of culture. They are the keepers of the soul. And this brings us to the final layer of meaning, the human condition. At its core, the Pandubbi is a story about fear. It is a story about the unknown. It is a story about the things that lurk in the dark, waiting to pounce. But it is also a story about courage. It is a story about the grandmother who escaped. It is a story about the people who faced the river and survived. It is a story about resilience. The Pandubbi represents the fears that we all share. The fear of death. The fear of the dark. The fear of the unknown. The fear of being alone. The fear of being trapped. These are universal fears. They are part of the human experience. The Pandubbi gives them a name. It gives them a face. It makes them tangible. And in doing so, it makes them manageable. By facing the Pandubbi, by telling its story, by remembering its lessons, we are facing our own fears. We are acknowledging them. We are learning to live with them. We are finding the strength to continue. This is the power of folklore. It is not just entertainment. It is therapy. It is healing. It is a way of processing trauma, of making sense of suffering, of finding meaning in chaos. In Bihar, the stories of the Pandubbi are not just told. They are performed. They are acted out. They are danced. They are sung. They are part of festivals, of rituals, of ceremonies. They are part of the fabric of life. They are not separate from reality, but integrated into it. They are a way of engaging with the world, of participating in the mystery of existence. And this is why these stories matter. They matter because they are true. Not in the sense of factual accuracy, but in the sense of emotional and spiritual truth. They are true because they speak to the heart. They are true because they resonate with the soul. They are true because they remind us of who we are, where we come from, and where we are going. They remind us that we are part of a long line of storytellers. They remind us that we are part of a long line of survivors. They remind us that we are part of a long line of seekers. They remind us that we are not alone. So, let us carry the Pandubbi with us. Let us carry its lessons. Let us carry its warnings. Let us carry its wisdom. Let us carry its beauty. Let us remember that the river is deep. Let us remember that the night is dark. Let us remember that the stranger may not be who they seem. Let us remember to be kind, but to be wise. Let us remember to be brave, but to be cautious. Let us remember that we are guests on this earth. Let us remember to respect it. Let us remember to love it. Let us remember to protect it. And let us remember that we are not alone. We are surrounded by stories. We are surrounded by ancestors. We are surrounded by spirits. We are surrounded by magic. The Pandubbi is not just a ghost. It is a guide. It is a teacher. It is a friend. It is a mirror. It reflects our fears, but it also reflects our strengths. It reflects our darkness, but it also reflects our light. So, as we stand here, at the edge of the river, let us look into the water. Let us look into the depths. Let us look into the eyes of the Pandubbi. And let us smile. For we know its name. We know its story. We know its power. And we are not afraid. The mist is rising. The moon is shining. The river is flowing. The night is peaceful. And we are safe. For we have the stories. We have the wisdom. We have the community. We have the earth. And we have each other. So, let us go home. Let us rest. Let us dream. For the stories will wait for us. The river will wait for us. The Pandubbi will wait for us. And we will be ready. But for now, let us simply breathe. Let us simply be. The river flows on. The night deepens. The stars twinkle. And the silence is sweet. Listen to the water. Listen to the wind. Listen to your own heart. It is beating. It is alive. It is strong. You are alive. You are strong. You are safe. Sleep now. Sleep in the knowledge that you are protected. Sleep in the knowledge that you are loved. Sleep in the knowledge that you are part of something greater. The Pandubbi is far away. The river is calm. The night is kind. And you are home. So, close your eyes. Let go of the day. Let go of the fear. Let go of the worry. Let the stories carry you. Let the wisdom guide you. Let the love surround you. Drift into the darkness. Drift into the silence. Drift into the peace. The river is with you. The ancestors are with you. The spirits are with you. You are not alone. You are never alone. Sleep. 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 The end of Part E. The night has settled deeply now, a heavy, velvet blanket that wraps around the world, softening the edges of reality until only the essential remains. We are back at the riverbank, but this time, the terror has receded, leaving behind a profound and echoing silence. The air is cool against your skin, carrying the scent of wet earth, of decaying leaves, and of the ancient, mineral-rich water that has flowed through this land for millennia. The mist is no longer a shroud of fear, but a gentle veil, drifting lazily across the surface of the Ganges and its tributaries, blurring the line between the sky and the water, between the waking world and the dream state. Look out at the water. See how the moonlight dances upon it. It is a silver path, shimmering and elusive, leading into the darkness. The ripples are small, almost imperceptible, created by the gentle breath of the night wind. There is no struggle here, no violent tug, no sudden pull. There is only the slow, rhythmic undulation of the current, moving with a patience that spans centuries. This is the river as it is meant to be seen, not as a predator, but as a witness. It has seen generations of farmers rise before dawn to tend their fields. It has seen lovers meet in secret under the cover of darkness. It has seen children splash in the shallows, their laughter ringing out like bells. And it has seen the Pandubbi, not as a monster to be feared, but as a part of the natural order, a reminder of the power and mystery that lies beneath the surface of our daily lives. The mist rises higher now, curling around the base of the banyan trees that stand sentinel along the bank. Their roots, thick and gnarled, dig deep into the soil, anchoring them against the floods and the droughts. They are the keepers of the stories, the silent listeners to the whispers of the wind. If you listen closely, you might hear them speaking, not in words, but in the rustle of leaves, in the creaking of branches. They tell of the land of Anga, of the people who have lived here, loved here, and died here. They tell of the balance between fear and protection, between the darkness of the river and the light of the goddess. Feel the ground beneath you. It is firm and solid, a contrast to the fluid uncertainty of the water. You are safe here. You are grounded. The earth supports you, holding you with a steady, unwavering strength. There is no need to hold your breath, no need to watch for the subtle signs of the lure. The tobacco is gone, the biddies are ash, and the hands that sought to drag you under are now still. The Pandubbi, in its truest form, is not a villain, but a mirror. It reflects our own fears, our own anxieties about the unknown, about the depths of our own hearts. It is the part of us that worries about the consequences of our actions, the part that knows that kindness can be exploited, that trust can be broken. But it is also a part that can be understood, integrated, and ultimately, released. As you stand here, in the quiet of the night, you begin to see the Pandubbi differently. It is no longer a faceless horror, but a tragic figure, a soul trapped in the cycle of its own sorrow. The farmer who drowned, the spirit that seeks connection, the ghost that asks for tobacco because it remembers the warmth of the sun and the comfort of community. It is a reminder that even in death, the human spirit seeks connection, seeks to be seen, to be heard. And in that seeking, it becomes dangerous. But in our understanding, it becomes human. The river flows on, indifferent to our fears, indifferent to our stories. It is a force of nature, beautiful and terrible, life-giving and life-taking. It teaches us respect, not just for the water, but for the power of the unknown. It teaches us that there are things we cannot control, things we cannot understand, and that is okay. It is in that acceptance that we find peace. We do not need to banish the ghost, we only need to acknowledge its presence, to respect its power, and to move forward with wisdom. The mist begins to thin, allowing the stars to peek through. They are bright and clear, scattered across the vast canvas of the night sky. They are the eyes of the ancestors, watching over us, guiding us. They remind us that we are part of something larger than ourselves, part of a continuum that stretches back to the beginning of time. We are the children of the river, the children of the earth, the children of the stars. And like them, we are eternal. Let the stillness of the river seep into your bones. Let the coolness of the night air soothe your mind. There is no urgency here, no need to rush, no need to escape. The Pandubbi is gone, or rather, it has become part of the night, part of the mist, part of the water. It is no longer a threat, but a companion, a reminder of the mystery that surrounds us. And in that mystery, there is comfort. Think of the grandmother who escaped, who told the story not to spread fear, but to share wisdom. She understood that the story was not just about the ghost, but about survival, about resilience, about the human capacity to overcome fear. She carried the story with her, not as a burden, but as a gift. And now, you carry it with you. You have listened, you have understood, and you have released. The story is no longer yours to fear, it is yours to honor. The river whispers to you now, a soft, soothing sound that matches the rhythm of your breathing. In, out. In, out. The water moves with you, not against you. It supports you, lifts you, carries you. You are floating, not sinking. You are safe, not in danger. The darkness is not empty, it is full of potential, full of peace. The moonlight is not cold, it is warm, gentle, nurturing. Let go of the need to control. Let go of the need to understand everything. Some things are meant to be felt, not analyzed. Some things are meant to be experienced, not solved. The Pandubbi is one of those things. It is a symbol of the unknown, and the unknown is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. It is the space where magic happens, where transformation occurs, where new beginnings are born. The night is deep, and the world is quiet. The sounds of the day have faded, replaced by the gentle symphony of the night. The chirping of crickets, the hooting of owls, the rustling of leaves. It is a lullaby, a song of sleep, a song of peace. Let it carry you away, into the depths of your own mind, into the realms of dreams. You are alone, but you are not lonely. You are with the river, with the ancestors, with the spirits. You are part of the tapestry of life, woven together by threads of love, loss, and understanding. The Pandubbi is a thread in that tapestry, a dark thread, yes, but one that adds depth and contrast to the whole. Without it, the story would be incomplete. Without it, the light would have no meaning. So let the river take your worries away. Let the mist hide your fears. Let the moonlight illuminate your path. You are ready to sleep. You are ready to rest. You are ready to let go. The water is calm. The night is still. The stars are watching. And you are safe. Drift. 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 The river is with you. The ancestors are with you. The spirits are with you. You are not alone. You are never alone. Sleep. 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 The end of Part F.